It is the best of times, it is the worst of times. For Dark Zero and Sonics, a major spot is already secured. All that remains is a grudge match, all stage in the making. For Spacestation Gaming and M80, however, the stakes could not be higher. Only one of them will make it to the major today. The other will face an arduous battle through last chance qualifiers where old foes are waiting for revenge. It's the final day of NAL playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. So happy for you to join us here. And of course, sitting next to me are two gentlemen who I could trust to break down all the action. It is Laxing and Foxa. Happy to be here with you guys for the final day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm super pumped for the day. I mean, we're already sending 2 teams now to Montreal. Today, we are going to be sending a third, and that is going to be a very intense matchup between Spacestation and M80.
Yeah, it's the most anticipated day. I mean, obviously, the whole stage has led up to this final day. I mean, I think the first seed is such a matchup for pride, and then obviously for the third last final spot to go to Montreal, I mean, it would just be so heartbreaking to be the team that ends up losing out and not getting that spot. But I mean, we'll have to see who comes out on top first.
Well, yesterday we gave up 2 major spots here, and it was an intense statement game for Sonics. Dark Zero and M80. That was a slugfest, though, all the way to the bitter end.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we didn't expect the games to go exactly how they did. I mean, Sonics absolutely blew SSG out of the water, and it was a really formidable play from them. And it was a statement that everybody has been revered to say. And that's exactly what we wanted to see if you're an SQ fan. And then on the other side of things, I mean, Dark Zero, they did get that win against M80, but it wasn't an easy one. It was such a toss-up that went down to the last map. And obviously, we're happy with Dark Zero coming out, but I mean, it's got to be a little bit better than that, obviously going into Montreal, and they'll have a little bit of a matchup, Sonics and DZ, to figure out who's going to be first in that grudge match. So,
right.
Yeah, we'll see that.
Yeah, to briefly just quickly touch up on that first matchup, I mean, I think it was that little double-edged sword that I was talking about. Sure, you know, we talked about Spacestation were looking pretty. They were able to sit, watch those games, but you were coming off of a very hot Sonics that learned their lesson and what they wanted to do against them after that wild card game where we weren't sure what that performance was going to look like, and we put everything on SSG just for it to immediately crumble due to SQ's performance and teamwork that, again, we saw throughout the entire stage that we did end up seeing yesterday. So should be a good game for that Dark Zero versus Sonics, but again, for Spacestation, M80, Spacestation, we've highlighted them many times. They've looked very strong, but they tend to be really good and then not so good. So coming off of that loss, I do expect this match to be really good, but also for M80, they kept it close for Dark Zero. Very close game nonetheless, but again, both teams need to be showing up today to try to get this last spot and avoid an LCQ run.
Well, you know, we got a little look at the bracket there, see how things were working out. But of course, before, you know, we get to the Dark Zero Sonics game, we have the M80 SSG matchup. And obviously, this is one that you guys, I know we've been thinking about, we've been percolating on. We were just kind of hinting at it here. M80, they're dangerous, and SSG, they looked a little rough.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the best M80 version that we've seen so far, and I'm glad to see best of threes working out a little bit in their favor because we didn't get to see too much from them. We obviously talked a lot about their issues, but it looks like they're coming back into their form. As for SSG, I mean, they were really consistent up until that last play day, up until getting up against Sonics. And yeah, I don't know if it's just the wheels haven't been turning enough. They've gotten a little cold sitting in that first spot. They didn't get to play 2 days back-to-back just yesterday. And obviously now they've had to sit on this loss. I mean, it's kind of a grim position to be in if you're SSG.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate, but when you do compare this matchup, when we did see them last play, it was on Bank, and that's where we even said SSG, that's where we thought they looked the best in terms of their teamwork, and we've said that many times. But after their hiccup yesterday, again, I do expect a lot coming out from SSG going into this matchup. But if M80 continue their train and their performance that we saw in the Dark Zero game, this could be a good toss-up for either of these teams.
It definitely could, and I mean, M80, I think they've been a bit of a chaos agent here in the playoffs. I think we expected them to do well, but I don't think we expected them to do as well as they did, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, and it's do or die, but it's something to keep in mind. This was the only team that brought Dark Zero to an overtime, so granted that game went the distance yesterday wasn't too surprising for me. I did think Dark Zero overall was going to win it. Sure enough, they did. But I mean, again, they showed a lot of tenacity. It just came down to small errors that they couldn't get over the hurdle. But going into today, I mean, you also have to keep in mind, they did bring 2 maps into their map pool of that Border and Chalet.
Right.
Obviously, they didn't find a lot of success on Border, but they did thankfully on Chalet and just couldn't close it out in that last map, which ended to be a 7-5. But everyone across the board, I mean, they're all performing extremely well. Spoit being the one that stands out the most. But something that really does stand out from Spoit is those opening engagements. We talked about this. Fox talks about this yesterday, is that this team, their opening engagements, they aren't great, but they aren't perfect either, and they aren't terrible. But the thing is, especially when you're going against a team like SSG, where we were commending them on their opening engagements yesterday, you look at M80's opening engagements, out of 34 rounds, they only won 15, losing 19 of those. That is a scary thing, because in comparison, when you look at SSG, SSG was winning in their opening engagements. And that's not a crazy difference from a 12 and 10, but you also have to keep in mind, Spacestation only played 2 matches where M80 played 3. And we talked about both these teams. They can find these opening engagements, but it's what they do with that opening engagement that truly will either allow them to find success or truly hinder their performance. And both these teams have been capitalizing, well, actually not capitalizing, they haven't been capitalizing on those opening engagements. So that is a very scary thing here for especially M80, that they need to be able to keep this man advantage alive and keep trickling that down going into the end game.
And the biggest X factor for M80 that's keeping these games close, that's going the distance, is these big hero plays that we've been seeing so much of. But when it came to the game against Dark Zero, yes, across the board, nobody was really underperforming. I mean, Spoit was obviously at the top overperforming, but when it came to that game, Dark Zero was just taking it to them, winning that gunfight game, taking it away from them. And that was the one thing that M80 was their lifeblood of their first win, and that was the issue, is they weren't given the opportunity to make those big plays against Dark Zero.
And another scary thing, when you look at that opening engagement from them, with those 15 opening engagements won, Spoit have 9 of those.
Right.
Spoit contributed 9 of those, so the rest of them really need to be focused up today to win those opening engagements and also not be the opening pick for the other team. And again, especially going against SSG and how well we were seeing Ashen yesterday get those opening picks.
You know, just like in a general sense, I mean, do you feel that M80 should be confident going into this matchup, at least to a certain extent, just based on the Dark Zero?
Absolutely, just based off their last performance that they had against SSG, where SSG absolutely dominated them. There is the caveat of that you can take away from that game and know how you want to play against SSG. But again, you have to be on top of it today, because today is your last and final day to avoid an LCQ.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the last day, and you know, SSG, they're a heck of an opponent, right? We might not have expected them to quite be in the position that they're in, but they're still an incredibly talented roster. I mean, you know the names. These are known talents with a lot of ability.
Yeah, I mean, SSG is doing the difficult part first, and at this point in the game, their inconsistencies has been holding them back, but we all know what the issues are. I mean, it's the main thing that they've been trying to focus on stage 2 since bringing on Benja, since stage 1. It's been the same issue from stage 1. It's their issues on defenses, the way that they're able to connect to each other. I mean, we were commending them for their opening kills, and yes, their opening kills were a little bit better, but the issue with that is they're not converting them any which way. I mean, you look at the statistics, and M80 had a little bit worse opening kills to SSG's game, but M80 went to the last map. SSG got 2-0'd. Yeah. So how are you doing so well on the opening kill department and getting steamrolled 2-0'd to where it just looks like Sonics had the lead the whole time? And I'll tell you why. I mean, it just doesn't look like the communication or the understanding is there behind the scenes. And we got a couple rounds that will show you exactly what I'm talking about. Immediately after SSG is getting these kills, they lose him. This is the first round. Ashen gets an opening kill. Now, this is a nice shot, give it what you may, but J90 doesn't need to be peeking there. Instantly gets the trade back. Next round, immediate next round, Benja, aggressive play inside jail, gets an opening kill. He gets caught out here trying to run back to site. What can you do? But this last round is the epitome of SSG's issues. Amazing heads-up play here from Ashen. He knows that he can get aggressive. He's going to impact the Nomad above his door, go for the overextend, find a kill, and then he's going to be given with the task. What do I choose? To go right and save time, or go left and stall more time? And he goes left. And if you look at the clock, it only was a 15-second difference, and he overextends, gives himself up, and that is an advantage that you could have taken it to the bank, played off of your teammates, played the man advantage, but instead, time and time again, SSG was getting that kill and trying to add another kill and another kill on top of it, and it just was getting shut down. It wasn't working, and there was no switch up from SSG's side to understand, hey, we're getting the first kill, let's turtle up afterwards. That conversation was not there. It was just the same SSG the whole way through, and it didn't work, and that was what led to them getting 2-0.
Which I think it's great that they are getting this initial first pick, especially for Ashen, but it is important to keep in mind that you do have that advantage, and if you can keep playing that number game that I keep hounding, you will always be the team coming out on top. So if Ashen can just sit tight and they can play that defense, they will look great going into any single half that they go.
Well, obviously, we know there's a ton on the line here, but it's always best to hear from the players themselves. So here's Ashen and Cameraman talking about how important this match is today.
I'm Ashen from Spacestation Gaming, and we're playing for a major spot today. Hi, I'm cameraman. I play for M80, and we're fighting for a major spot. I think we came to the playoffs like clear heads, and like we were playing better as a team in general. So it's unfortunate that we lost today. We could have won, of course. Like we had a big advantage, like we had on Chalet, and maybe we just need to focus on closing out this games. They were better in this clutch stuff.
Our game against Sonics, it seemed we were playing a little too timid, just not playing how we usually play, which was probably the biggest issue. We just weren't using the correct solutions with what we had thought that we should have done, and we just overall got outclassed by them on that day.
Everyone in this playoffs, they were doing amazing, like hyping everyone up. I think I do a lot too. Try to focus like, oh, if you're winning, like try to calm down. If you're losing, trying to cheer everyone up. Like it was not a vibe problem, let's say. It's just unfortunately someone has to win and they won.
One player on my team who stood out against SQ, even though we lost, was Benja. I think he stayed really calm in the moment. Also, you can give a shout out to Forrest as well, just on the blitz, playing the crank ops. He tried to get it done, but obviously, sometimes this doesn't happen. But shout out to them too. Against M80 in the group stage, I think we did really well on playing, the way we wanted to play in that game. For a rematch against them, I think they're a very, very readable team. They think that they can, a lot of the time, just win off their skill and mechanics, while they do also have strats at the same time. But if we can really adapt them, which I think they're pretty bad at, then we should run away with that game.
I think they're better compared to the other stage with Benja's addition. I think they're playing good siege. We have a good map pool. It's gonna be a tough game for everyone, so hopefully the win is the best.
The weakness with the M80 roster is, I think, honestly, their coordination when it comes to when they're losing. This is for a lot of teams, but they might get in their own heads. I think that their team play and their aggression starts to hinder a little bit as they start losing, so that's something you can definitely exploit.
I think they're not a coordinated team. They struggle on the executes if we don't give them early picks, and I think we gotta make it harder for them to win, mostly on the defense.
Obviously, it would have been ideal to win that game against Sonics and just automatically qualify on the first day. The best thing we can do is just take all the pressure off and just go in and actually just play. That's all we need to focus on, just playing Rainbow Six Siege. Say we lose tomorrow and we go through the LCQ. We've done it before, we can do it again.
I live this game. I wake up and I go to sleep thinking about it. Same dedication as every single day, like doing the best I can. So tomorrow is just another day, like nothing different. NA, I think it's way better than it was like 1 year ago, I'd say. Like the rosters and the teams, it's gonna be a good game. Yeah.
The thing that really stands out to me about that is they both say that their team is uncoordinated. It's quite funny. I mean, it's it's true.
They both have their inconsistencies on the exact same topic. So one isn't doing it worse than the other. They both are pretty much on an even playing field in terms of lack of coordination.
Yeah, I mean, SSG is getting the opening kills, but they do struggle in their executes, and that's what Cameraman said. But M80, I mean, they're not even getting to the executes because they were just getting shut down on the entry. But if they can get to those executes, they usually work out more often than not. So it's kind of like one team's got the start, one team's got the back. If they just combined, they'd be the ultimate team. But currently, they're kind of both kind of in the middle ground right now, trying to make a statement of who's going to be that third seed going to Montreal.
Yeah, let's not give them any ideas, shall we, at this point in time? I don't think the other teams here in North America quite need that. As we see our map vetoes coming up, Bank is a really interesting first choice for me, actually.
So this makes a lot of sense. Obviously, you're going to be Spacestation. You're going to pick this map because you obviously showed pure dominance on it, but it is a little worrisome because, again, when you're that losing team, you take a lot more from that game and where things went wrong and what you can implement going into the next time. So I do expect Spacestation to still play it fairly similar to how they did, just maybe swapping out a couple operators or just maybe playing a little different position. But the labs, that's an interesting one for me with M80.
I just don't know what M80 is. I mean, we're going to see how it goes. I don't want to be the one to be the bearer of bad news, but these are M80's worst maps so far throughout the stage. They've played them each twice. They've lost them both twice. And going back to it, obviously, there's going to be some changes, but regardless of the changes, it comes down to the fundamentals that M80 struggles on this map. And we saw their closest and best matchup yesterday, and they played Border, Chalet, Club. So you're going to go to Bank, then Labs, back-to-back, huge maps, completely throwing out the system that you had against Dark Zero. I mean, that just doesn't look too confident if you're M80 on the outside. Obviously, again, it's up to them. They obviously understand what they're going towards. And if you're M80 at the end of it, SSG struggled a lot more yesterday. So maybe they're just trying to take it to that mentality of SSG struggles on executes. Let's bring him to maps where SSG is going to execute. These are two very huge execute heavy maps.
Yeah.
So I could definitely understand the thought process, just don't know if I believe in it.
What I see, especially on Bank onto this first map, is they're going to want Spacestation to be making the first mistake of getting overly aggressive, getting overly zealous, and try to shut that down. Which is what we saw from Spacestation is that teamwork that they implemented against M80. They were getting aggressive. They weren't giving them that space, weren't giving them that respect or map control. So again, I do expect M80 to play a little slower here and let Spacestation to make the mistake. But if Spacestation is on top of their game, they do play a little slower game, but still keeping that respect and not, you know, forcing their hand or forcing an overzealous take. Spacestation should walk away with this. It is a little worrisome, but again, I will give the caveat that M80 can learn from their mistakes that they had against SSG on this map. So again, I will go with M80 on this map.
Well, everything's all set up and we are ready to hop into Bank. So it's time to turn you over to our casters for today. And I have some great news. A foreign queen has deigned us with her regal presence today. Your casters, Intero and Fluke.
Thank you so very much. It's not often that you come across the pond here, but it is always nice when we get to work together, and today will be no exception to that. Yesterday I casted with Flynn. I was supposed to be with Jesse for both of these days, but Jesse is too busy living it up at somebody else's wedding, and he didn't even bother to invite us, which is quite rude. But instead, we have front row tickets to the last match to determine which of these teams makes it out of the playoffs and to the Montreal Major. You were griping while we were waiting to get into this matchup that you weren't allowed to do predictions. What do you predict about today's match?
Okay, this is why I wasn't, because I saw the belt, I was like, I want that belt. That belt should be my belt. I want the belt. My prediction is probably SSG. I'm gonna go with here. I know there's some sort of doomsaying there about the map stuff. I don't care about maps. I care about vibes, Parker. I care about how things are going to play themselves out as we go into it. I think SSG might have that today. I think they've tasted the chance at glory. I've seen how they feel when things go wrong at the major. They want to try and get there and prove themselves wrong. That's why. It's all vibes based. My system is flawed. I will get my predictions wrong. What about you? Who do you think? You could have done your predictions. You've been here the whole time.
I mean, with the way that they played yesterday, I really didn't like what I saw on a space station. M80 obviously had some pronounced issues, but I still really like the way that they played against Dark Zero. It's hard to quantify, but I mean, like, my just like, don't look too deep, just fire from the hip is M80. I think M80 will win it, but I suspect it will be probably more than 2 maps.
You had quite a long one yesterday.
Well, I mean, there were
Incidents.
a lot of tech issues.
Well, those are incidents.
Happens.
Accidents. It happens. Hey, you play through. This is technically the second show, the second team I'll be sending to the major today. Within a period of a 24-hour period.
Did you do Japan?
I did Japan at 5 in the morning at my
Jeez.
local time. Then I slept for about 10 hours. It was great. Now I'm doing NAL, which I'm roughly assuming is going to run from about 12 p.m. local time to about 5 in the morning. I don't know where I am, what time this is, but I'm here to watch Siege.
It's 5:57 p.m. on the East Coast right now.
It is quite funny that they've got, obviously, this game. It's a huge game. One of these teams will find their way towards the major, confirmed. The other one will play their way through the LCQs. And they've got you and me on it. 2 just not Americans. We're sort of close, but you're kind of American.
Please don't, no. I am not American in the slightest. I guess I'm North American.
There is... No, okay. There is 2 Canadians that are on this broadcast. There's Fox and our host, Quebec.
Correct. Wait, Quebec is Canadian?
Quebec, I think it's pronounced.
Oh, I thought you said Corback, our host, instead of
No,
Quebec.
it's our host.
It's your accent.
Oh. What they're accenting is their approach here. Through cutting the half of bank, getting themselves eyes towards the area of the kitchen, popping early costs on towards utility and things like that. And from when I've seen SSG, obviously, unfortunately, because I've been working in Japan, I haven't been able to see what went wrong for them over the weekend, but I can talk about what they usually do right is some of their pace and their application towards the utility game. You're looking at a clash, you're looking at Goyos, you're looking at everything you've got to juggle around, which is already an unfortunate amount of kinetic utility you've got to try and shut down. And the drop down goes out, pushed out of open, but that's not really where the fight of utility is going to be.
Need a big game from Benjamaster today for SSG. There were some players yesterday in the match that we talked about being very, very important that they show up. Cameraman was the player that I highlighted for M80, but I think more than anything, it's Citizen. Citizen did not have the best day yesterday. Ditto Hyper. And if both of those players had played up to their potential, I don't think Dark Zero wins that matchup with the way that Nafe and Bolo in particular played. So if you can have all of M80 actually show up to this match, you're going to be in great shape. SSG's worst performer yesterday, I guess you could say that, was Forrest. But he was playing on those high-value utility roles. You don't expect him to be the top fragger. The guy that was a little bit worrying to me was Benjamaster, and he gets the very first pick with just about a minute to go.
It's a bit of a start here, but obviously when you're looking at the clash, that's probably the best one you want off the board first. And then you know you're going to be juggling on towards this default plant spot. The mirror might have slowed things down a bit, made the breach a little bit awkward, but it's the reverse plant. You play against those canisters, 3 of them to juggle though, and you're thinking, okay, where do we go? They cannot really plant on the default plant spot. They're still clearing the fire out of it, and this is that worry I talked about with utility. So Spoit drives in, gets the back of Ashen. There goes Kino, getting one as well. SSG, they're still focusing on this very important utility game I talked about before, but it makes things impossible. On the drop, they're hoping Forrest can get the confirmation, and his health's going down in a smoke, but he will get it and not get out of there. But it puts them in the 3 versus 2. The vertical is into their favor at this point. M80, they've got to make that decision. Do they quickly go up round the top, get control of it? You can see someone's pushing up their way green. Here it is, the double stack, win out this engagement, buy enough space. There's the first for Benja, can't get the trade. Citizen now in this all-important 1 versus 1, and Fultz isn't having any of it, pulls himself away. He's got 20 seconds. He only has to waste about 15 of that to be able to win this round on the time count. Gets the first engagement. You've got to run for it, Citizen. You won't be able to make both because it's Fultz's.
Nicely done by Fultz to lock that one out. And I mean, at that point, even if Citizen had got the kill, I don't know if there had been enough time. It would have been by the hair of his chinny chin chins. I don't know how much of the NAL you've watched, but Benja plays from the surface of the sun. M80 has been going all around this house.
Sun?
I'm assuming it's all the same house that they're in. I'm not entirely certain, but they've been just changing where they're at. This was for SSG. This was a good lockout. I mean, obviously it came really, really close at the very end there, but with the way that they were able to entry and how quickly they droned out this map, it shows a level of confidence that I think is quite good, and something that you hope will carry on. I mean, it is SSG's map at the end of the day. You expect them to do well, irrespective of the side. And once we get 2 or 3 rounds into this, we can go and we can talk about the side. The observers are showing us that it's open area. Did I miss something? Is it like worth highlighting? And I haven't seen it.
That's like bullying. That's like when the kid at school tries to impress the cool kid, and you're like, yeah, okay. You just did that to the observers. How do you feel?
Who's observing today? It looks like Stefan and Nova. Is that correct? Maybe? Or a good friend, Easily? Easy, sorry.
He doesn't play anymore.
I know he doesn't. Easy. I always want to say easily. I also have only had 1 coffee today because I expect a late day, so I deliberately withheld coffee. Oh my, Ashen, okay. Here's the thing, Ashen hasn't typed yet.
Right,
That's
but that will come
an important
after,
metric for us to keep mind of.
Yeah, I think it will come after round 3. I'm just going to put down around 3 typage, put that on the predictions. They get the early take onto Kino. They almost find Spoit, but he wins it out. Takes a huge amount of damage for his trouble, but accuracy with this gun is a position of play. It might even been around this area. I think one of our desk, Fox, was able to pull off a great ace with that gun and kit, and then loads of people replicated it. So who knows? The sky is the limit. They have the potential to get themselves obviously driven in on the back of Forest's Ying here, but SSG, they're still sort of whirling their way around, prodding and poking at all of the different aspects of the vertical here on the whole. They don't want to entirely dedicate in towards stock, just get some of it open, make things a bit uncomfortable, pull themselves back, maybe redrawing out Spoit, who could opt for the drop on the hatch if he wants to get out of there, but for now, until he feels that pressure, he's just going to sit, be a problem child, draw their focus out.
A map like this, you expect limited action at the early part of the round. We didn't obviously see that this time. Ashen with the pick, he died shortly thereafter, which leaves us in even numbers. And it's Spoit who got that very first kill, and Spoit who will get the second now as well. Only 3 players from SSG remain. That was the drone speed walk, but it actually looked like Fultz was flying through. I don't know if you
he can just do that. This is what you guys don't know.
That's crazy.
Fultz can just do that. Now the Candelas are popping off on the back end. You can see that they've got the kit rotating around the top of square, but think about where the site is and think about what they have control of and what they can actually do with it. They weren't able to catch Spoit. He got the kill and took the drop, and I think even dropped one more time below. They can rotate their way back up towards blue, angle on towards the quad wall, make things untouchable and uncomfortable. At this point, it's just going to have to turn into a bit of a hot hat drop.
It's okay. You got it. You got it this time.
Listen, it's not my first language.
English isn't your first?
There's a lot you don't know about me. There's a lot we don't know about that pistol. Missing most of its shots there. Citizen's able to get the end of Benja, and at this point, SSG, now Fultz, might be able to run with the wind. But unfortunately can be blown aside as well.
M80 win that round, and a lot of it really does come down to the periphery, the areas outside of the actual bomb site being so crucial. Hallway by elevators that we saw, the play upstairs where I think it was Forrest got killed from that, if memory serves correctly, and then also square with the multi-reinforcement. Yeah, I'm telling you, Benja plays on the server. I don't have any idea where he is. I'm assuming SSG based out of Utah now. I think they're in Salt Lake City, if I'm being specific. And
take me down to the Salt Lake City.
Nope.
That one.
That's Paradise City. It's a completely different song.
No, I was singing.
Anyway, they are 3 hours behind me, so it would be 3 o'clock on the West Coast right now, give or take. So could explain why it is still so bright. 2 rounds in a row and very limited information for us to go off of at this point. Emmy, for people who are watching, just to let you know what is on the line. It's the last spot through the playoffs of the Montreal Major. There is still another spot in North America. However, that will be won through the last chance qualifiers. And the team that loses this matchup will go into the LCQs and join Wildcard, Cloud9, Beast Coast. I think Los got eliminated, so they're definitely not going to be there. OXG might still be in the hunt. I can't remember. I don't know exactly what's going on with Luminosity either, as I have not kept fully up to date with the LCQs, but one of these 2 teams will join both Dark Zero and the Sonics next. Who will be playing in our next matchup. Both of them clinched their spot last time around. Let's look at Bank for just a second here, because I promised that we would talk about it when we were a couple rounds in, and when we are in round number 3, so it's as good of a time as ever.
That is technically a couple.
It is a couple, but it would be a few, because this is the 3rd. Bank is among the least played maps in North America. It is the 2nd fewest rounds that have been played. The only map that has been played less is Skyscraper. Given that we have Nighthaven Labs and Consulate up next, we're not going to see Skyscraper. Bank, though, is 57% of the rounds won by the attackers, 43% by the defenders. And well, if you're SSG, you hope those numbers hold, because you start on attack. Benjamaster walks in, executes Spoit, arguably the best player on M80, and SSG has a bit of breathing room with 1:40 still to go.
The European Brawl find its way in the hallowed halls of the Stock Exchange, and the one that comes out of the exchange worse is Spoit for now. He was able to pull off, obviously, the couple of kills that pulled them back in. Now, SSG, can they try and actually capitalize on getting this opening body there? Getting themselves again, you see these moments of this combination of utility that I talked about here, the coverage of the smoke. Are they going to try and move behind it? They're forcing janitors to be unplayable as a swing position. Akina goes to the other side and hits the other unplayable bit of the position as the second bolt comes across. They're slowly trying to creep their way in on towards the back of janitors, and it's Benja to get Citizen on that swing kill, get that support. They're getting vending, getting flag, getting all of this slowly encircled, and it's making things a bit awkward because how do you bite back in? Too late to the party. Benjamaster gets his third, and there's Cameraman at least taking the top of white, but as he looks to his right, he's going to find himself on the wrong end of, no, the right end of Benja. Had the angle, but Forest securing the plant. Hyper isn't giving their life away. Waiting for the support to come through from Cameraman. They had to make sure that the two of them could try and cook a recipe together that included the SSG players on the back end, because what you're thinking about is as soon as one of them gets out on rappel, you've got to throw yourself out the building. You have to try and attack this as a duo. Now that little angle is going to net big results for Forest. They're just tucked behind the soft debris, and as I said before, with the player outside, I mean, this is close as to unwinnable as you can get. Drops down for the fight here as well. They had all the positions, all the verticality, and at this point, M80 will find themselves falling a step behind to another plant from SSG.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we come to expect with these numbers if you consider the ebb and flow of this map.
There. What did I say? After the end of the third round.
He's typing.
I saw yup.
Oh, he's typing.
I said it. I know this game.
I mean, we've been working on it for quite so long.
Like 7 years?
Ashen likes to type in the chat. That shouldn't surprise anybody. SSG does their talking in the server, but they also let their opponents know. And I mean, I think you can talk to some of these players about whether it gets in their head or not. I think with a team like SSG, they're kind of annoying if you're playing against them, right? They've got very strong players who like to be villains. They are perfectly capable of winning more matches than they lose. I mean, at the end of the day, Spacestation finished second overall. They were the second best team. The only team worse than them, or the only team better than them statistically, was Dark Zero. So SSG obviously can compete with the best of the best. And there was a 5-point spread between these two squads, which means that SSG almost won 2 more games than M80. That's a fair bit with how short these stages actually are. But when you get to the playoffs, it's a completely different beast. If you allow Ashen and Co to get in your head, things are not going to go very well for you. DZ was quite resilient yesterday, not letting SSG talk too much. And when they did, making fun of them in return. Rexon in particular was dunking on Ashen whenever a bad interaction would happen. The thing is, though, Emmy, is that when you talk a lot of trash, you need to be able to back it up. SSG through 3 rounds, well, they're doing an okay job. But if you get Ashen typing a lot while going negative and SSG is losing, it might even irritate the rest of SSG and their teammates. We'll see. 30 seconds off of the round, we're underway with round number 4.
Gridlock to try and control some of the space of play here. They've obviously realized that maybe the approach last time, although it was successful, wasn't something they want to try and bank on. It turned into a bit of a throw ourselves in with all that gas canisters, the smoke canisters still cooking around, the Goyo as well. You don't want to try and find yourself looking for that little pocket of space and hoping that you can make it. Hope doesn't carry you round onto winning rounds. Winning rounds is built on the back of consistency, and that is the response towards the play. No clash, though, this time, so instead it's, I'm not going to say more of a formulaic hold here. You've got the standard extensions onto the walls. Everything's reinforced. No mirror tricks. They're not going to try and play the sneaky holds. Instead, hey, let's let them in towards server. Let's let them try and get this dedication of utility, and let's actually play against the utility that we still had. We had the canisters. We have a C4. We can try and play against this. The impact breach will come against it. The OS is deployed. You hope there's a response here from a smoke at some point just to deny this first plant, but ooh, it's maybe a little late. Forest can just stick this one out, and not a great reaction time there. We find ourselves all 10 players a post-plant. The first does get called out by Benja as he drifts outside of the room. There's faults with control over Garage, and M80 were just caught entirely sleeping here. I said it was a more formulaic hold, but the formula has to have a result at the end, otherwise it's just bad science. Spraying through the smoke to get the kill on towards the player that's watching it. They do at least get one, but now it is only one, and not for very long.
That's the exact same setup on the wall that we saw yesterday, where you throw the Selmas out, you let the one on the left go all the way down, and then you shoot the one on the right just to get the single line of sight, because there's a panel there that you can sit behind and it gives you a bit more protection. It also makes it more challenging for the defenders to try and long arm the diffuser based on where it's positioned. This is quite troubling that M80 has called their timeout so early into this matchup, Emmy. We are 4 rounds in, and M80 have already pulled that ripcord. Now, I mean, if you just go off of the numbers of Bank, and it's a relatively small sample size, so it is hard to say whether this will hold in North America. M80 shouldn't really be in dire straits at this particular moment. They are on the bad side of Bank. We expect them to be losing more rounds than they win, and it's also SSG's map, so realistically, like, not all hope is lost. If you want to take a look at the numbers, by the way, of Bank, you head over to Europe and it's basically a 50-50 map. It's slightly defender favored in Brazil, 54 rounds won by the defenders, 46 won by the attackers. So, I mean, maybe there is something to it. Maybe M80 was hoping for a 3-3 first half and are a little bit frustrated with where they're looking. But the bigger issue for me with M80 is that right now on Bank, it's a big map. Coordination can be tough. But they honestly seem like a team of individuals. It doesn't look like they're playing as well coordinated as they did yesterday. We saw this on that upstairs defense, where all of the players were seemingly caught one by one in different interactions, none connected with each other. That's a big problem. And it doesn't matter what map you're playing on. If you're not working well as a team, you got to call a timeout to fix it.
Timeout called after the 4th round, and obviously getting themselves this far in on their map is one statement, but I know I joked about it. I know I did it as a gag about the analysts and map stats and how much they care, but when they do sort of talk about the doomsday, like, prepping that you've got to make as M80 towards all of your worst maps, you're sort of like, oh, okay, why have we come here? What's the sort of gamble? What do they expect to come out of this? Because SSG so far are making a big statement to back up all of those facts of saying, yeah, this is our map, and they've had very solid control, as you said. M80 haven't really felt like they're operating as units. The reactions aren't quite as sharp as they need to be on a map that can be as quick and aggressive. And as quick and aggressive as Forest can be on a blitz, heralded as one of those players that knew their way around this operator before they became the nightmare of every single player in this game. We'll see if they can try and get themselves some grasp on this, or if coming onto what is traditionally, I would say, more of the 4th pick offsite in the rotation can be something that throws off of the conversation from M80 and puts the pressure onto SSG.
I like this M80 lineup that's being brought. They've got plenty of stall potential with those mute jammers, and then they'll slow things down with the castle barricades, the black mirrors, and the Banshees by Malusi. The Oryx of Cameraman is an intriguing one in particular. This is a very uncommon bomb site. So the way that SSG goes about this will be very revealing. Forrest, by the way, has just walked right in. He has information and will go for the plant. Ashen holding things down. He misses the duel, though. That's a poor fight on the side of Benjamaster. Diffuser goes down, and they thought that it was just one player springing into action. Oh boy, how wrong were they?
How has this happened?
Citizen on 5 HP. What is happening? Ashen inside of open area, tearing through them. All 3 kills up at this point since the diffuser went down. He gets finished off by Cameraman, who's had some pretty good exit kills. But Emmy, this might be a bridge too far for M80. SSG looking for the 4th round. Ashen's already in the chat, but Cameraman's been around the block before. He's not going to be thrown off guard. He sees the diffuser and will go for the long arm with limited time. At the halfway point, he has no choice but to get off. He out-duels the blitz, but that's all she wrote. SSG gets the final kill, but they would have won it on time. 4-1, and an impressive start to Bank for Spacestation.
Okay, I mean, you know, you look at the round before, I talked about it, that there wasn't the reaction that needed to be paid. SSG are just sort of, I'm not going to say dry running plans, but it stepped in, plant, out, gone. Stepped in, plant, out, gone. The fact that they can do that back to back, including a timeout conversation in the middle of it, I'm not sure what M80 think is going wrong and what the conversation was about, but just a misapplication of their expectation here as to what M80, or what SSG even, were trying to pull against M80. How they were so free to take that land, take that ground. As I said, it's not the most common site. You don't really get it too much because it's a bit awkward to approach. It's a bit awkward to hold on to more than anything. As soon as they put the pressure onto vertical, you're usually shepherded off. You can get a little bit more of that around open, but I mean, heads up. That's what they need to sort of get themselves locked in here, because you talked about it as well, obviously. the importance of getting onto the major, it reflects itself in getting through to phase 2, because it's a guaranteed 55 SI points if you get to phase 2. You still get some for phase 1, but if things go wrong, which they have for M80 as an org at majors before, then you're a little bit worried of things. And then at that point, you're just hoping that you've already done enough, and nobody wants to be in that conversation.
The storylines that'll be told for these matchups, well, all over the place. This match, inarguably more important than what follows it, as we've already got those two teams solidified for the Montreal Major, though Sonics will want as many SI points as is humanly possible given the start that they had to this stage. For a second there, it looked like SSG was going to go for an open area rush. They've thrown out the smoke and opened up the wall, so it might have the attention of M80. They might think that's the plan, but it's far from the truth. Instead, SSG very quickly pivots and have now taken to the roof and will clear out this top floor to see who is where and what are they doing. Ashen will lose that Twitch drone a bit, unfortunately, as he was looking for the mirror window, but at least he spotted it all the way over on the wall in conference room.
SSG trying to just probe, poke and prod, and pull apart a weakness if they can. The demolition across the castle control here on the top floor is one that, with the X-Kairos, you don't even have to get yourself too close to. Remember how this round went away from them. They sort of set themselves in, got the first kill, Spoit pulls off one, and then another about 30, 40 seconds later, and things had gone away, almost shot out their own stolen camera there. Those are the mistakes you can occasionally make if you're 4-1 up.
Yeah, I mean, we also talk about this with like spawn peaks and stuff like that. When you get a little bit cutesy, not you in particular, the players, of course. And it's like, if you've got a lead, I know, I'm sorry, but if you've got a lead, it can be really tough to maintain that level head, especially a team like SSG that loves to wreak havoc on their opponents. M80 started off with 2 kills, by the way, Emmy.
Yeah.
And there's about a minute to go. This is a great spot for M80 to be in. And if they can survive this round, it'll be a 4-2 half. And that's pretty much where, with the numbers in NA, you want to be. If SSG can prevail in a 5-1, and they're actually doing some serious work. They've equalized, but Cameraman trades the number back. It's all up to Forrest in a 1v3. If SSG could equalize, that might have put this matchup out of reach for M80. But now it's a little bit closer. Spacestation looking for the final kill. Multiple players from M80 inside of open area, all looking for Forrest, and they find him amongst the trees. M80 wins the final round, and a 4-2 half, favoring Spacestation is right where SSG wants to be.
It's not a million miles away now, and that's that big worry, because remember, they've had their timeout. The game that they have ahead of themselves is only what they can pressure out of their opponents. If SSG want to have the conversation, fine, they have that option, but I can't believe he's playing on the sun. M80 will try and just keep biting back at rounds. They successfully held the same site twice. Now there's that change of awareness. Now's that truer test, I think, to see if they can, I guess, get the answer to the other questions. They're driving the direction. We're immediately back on towards open as well. Will SSG have a little bit more of a sort of keener awareness as to the approaches that M80 want to sort of bring to this map?
Kino is on M80.
Yeah, Kino awareness.
Yes.
Like cinema. Kino.
Kristen Cinema, the senator?
What?
From Arizona? You said cinema, sorry.
Oh.
Politics.
Politics. Yeah.
The economy. First half in the books, and we have seen quite a healthy amount of bomb sites played, including Teller's Archives, which was a little bit odd. That used to be way back in the day the second most played bomb site on this map before CEO Upstairs supplanted it. Every single bomb site on this map is serviceable. The win rates vary, but with a map like this, teams have been able to win everywhere. So it doesn't really give us a good indication of what is and isn't strong at the moment. We'll keep a close eye on what Spacestation decides to do for their bomb site rotation. They opt with open area first.
With the castle extensions, this is what gives this site a lot more life than the other one on the mid floor. Instead of having to play yourself underneath what is entirely soft, you can get these long angles, you can get yourself control over the top of the stairs and control inside the site as well. Spoit is up, he's looking for the rush, he takes care of faults, he is blinded out, and J9O Gets the trade back onto it. Little bits of scraps of damage, and then 2 big blows. SSG lose a couple of players, a snapshot. Citizen creeping their way around. They just don't want to accidentally give a shoulder or a glance at a body part for them to be torn apart. Now, Jane, I know, is crouching, hiding in the office like they're trying to avoid doing any real work, and they're about to have the work done to them.
No.
The Blitz steps in, sees the angle, sees their route to run out. There's some support coming through, and Ashen is that lifeline as they tuck themselves round the corner with the shotgun. Gets it. Popped and locked off. J90 finds Kino. And at this point, the 1 versus 1 has somehow been grabbed, and SSG could get this locked in. This would be such a good boon to their mental, although it's their first defense to pull this round back from where it was to where it is. Piper steps into the engagement as Ashen's trying to find the fights either side. There is so much time for them to get this one piece together. They have a drone, and otherwise also 2 castle walls in pocket. I'm not really sure if we're going to see those activated because both of them want the engagement, and Ashen, he wanted it just that a little bit more.
More focused than his webcam. As honestly, that really did come down to M80's mid-round falling apart. They had everything going for them. They had plenty of intel. They had plenty of utility. Citizen is really not happy with that, as he seems to be raking his team over the coals. But, I mean, you get caught effectively at this point midway through the round. Look at this. It was a 4v2, right? We always joke that a 5v3 is always the scariest lead in Siege to have, because that's when teams get a little bit cocky. It's also when the team that's at 3 rounds tends to swing because they realize they have to keep it close. And at that point, if they just sit around and wait, they're going to be picked apart. They're going to be killed. So SSG, realizing this, they pivot. They look towards small office. They look towards open area. They look into break room door and then into square, and they get 2 immediate picks. Ashen in particular plays off of the intel that J90 gives him perfectly to kill the Blitz. And I think that's really where things fell apart, because the Blitz that was sitting inside a break room is great at being able to isolate one of those 2 remaining players and take a 1v1 that will be in an advantageous direction. But losing him means that everybody else on M80 now needs to snap into action, grab that diffuser, get into the bomb site, and do some serious damage. And SSG had those lines of sight and those entry points locked in. Excellently played by SSG. And if I'm M80, I'm a little bit frustrated with this.
I mean, you're not M80. I don't think so. No, you're not. But you could see that they were frustrated. You could see, obviously, it was like parents' evening. Citizen and cameraman, very vocal. Spoit sort of sitting there looking a bit sad. Things weren't working out for them. And that frustration builds at the start of a long series. The weight of this, the weight of having to move away with how close they were yesterday, to having it fall away from today would be horrible, especially if it continues in this fashion. SSG, they found the momentum. Spoit has the coverage, and Kino is covered. Benja gets the drop, looks for the second fight. Is in a bit of a power position here on the vending machine, can swing on towards stock, forces the player out, and Citizen doesn't want to risk taking it. Now they have this body disadvantage. Now they've lost the Blitz. We've seen at least some utility thrown out, but you're thinking, okay, well, where's the point? They have to entirely try and build behind this Ying now.
And Kino, we have discussed his Monty plays at length. Spacestation have banned the shield operator. Monty is banned very, very commonly. So, I mean, it shouldn't really surprise anybody that he's not available here. He stands well alone as the most banned operator on attack. It's a zombie who's been banned the most overall, though, and well, she's banned too. The lack of Dokkaebi will be intriguing to watch for M80. They banned her, so they're going to know how to deal with her, but they're really struggling right now in this round on entry. They didn't have those same struggles in the previous round. Now it's the dreaded mid-round. M80 struggles in the previous round. That's where they lay. How do they do here? Spoit being softened up. Citizen looking for an entry. Sees a grenade primed and ready, and will now fire away, and Forrest actually manages to escape for now. Citizen looking for the 1-2 punch. 45 seconds left. And that might be it for Forrest.
Yeah, there's no getting out of that. But it also took a lot of time as well. More utility. And now they've lost the Nomad. Faults at the same time that they were cooking onto the single player. Spoit does find revenge on towards Fault, but 30 seconds. They still have to build towards a plant. They have the smokes they're trying to throw down. Cameraman throws down inside the site. They're digging their way across. Citizen's been able to find one, and now it's just down. So the once boy wonder, Benja, gets the first. Swings their way towards the smoke coverage of the second. Can hear it popping off. Wants to try and play the surprise. Misses the engagement, and Citizen doubles back round, and yeah, he's feeling it now.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be a momentum-based team. Ben, in particular, is a player who has very high expectations for his teammates. A bit of a botched start. Kino getting picked off early. That really could have been the death knell for that round, and it would have propelled Space Station to a 6-2 scoreline, 6-3 scoreline. Pardon me. Obviously, would have been quite unideal for M80, but that mid-round is where they work so well. They isolate 2 players from Space Station, get those picks, they keep rolling with it, and then they just slowly close in on that top floor, which is exactly what you need to do. 106-2, by the way. But instead, it's a little bit closer. Space Station's still very much in the driver's seat. Forrest knew he was as good as dead there, and it was Citizen, in fact, who had such a tremendous round that allowed M80 to do what they wanted to do while Citizen just hunted everybody else down. Now to the basement, Space Station will go for another defense.
I don't get to cast NAL a lot because I'm not American, so the surprise is there. But it's fun, the difference between the sort of just the cameras and the rooms aesthetic compared to EUL, where we'll have like players that are in like cupboards and their grandmother's house, and here there's just so much like anime merch and gamer gear. And to be fair, in the studio, I saw the studio has a sign that says like gamers at work or something. Like, nice. Anyway, gamers are at work. You can see it right in front of you.
You don't need to be a gamer. You don't need to be a gamer to work on this. That's correct.
It just helps. It might help M80 if they're gamers right now. Get themselves up. 1 round shy away if they pull this one together. Benjamaster using their special ability. Ask questions. Will they be answered? I don't know. It shows the effect that being on SSG has, because back when he was with EU and G2, he never opened all chat. Even when Doki would. Now look what you've done to the poor boy.
I haven't done anything. They can't hear me. They can't hear you, which is good. Could you imagine if they were trying to play a match while also hearing the casters in their ears? Number 1, we'd be giving away very crucial information, but number 2, how distracting would it be? Deathmark was used, by the way, on the Fenrir of Fultz, who manages to escape from his position. There was no follow-up from M80 towards Elevator, so good as gone they are. Now Citizen, with 10 kills to his name, will open up the hatches in open area and small office and give a clearer line of sight to the bomb site with half of the round to go.
They've got decent time here. On towards control of the map itself. They're not playing with the risk of hunting it down. They don't really have anything to fully control if they try and push back up. But you think about the only 2 staircases there can be. Unless you're rolling with the Oryx, you're generally quite centered, quite controlled. This is that battle, though. They're definitely ahead of the curve that I pointed out and complained about before. The mirror window is there to make things a little bit more awkward on towards it, but getting rid of these Goyo canisters, getting ready to juggle against potential C4s. You've got at least 2 and 3 smokes. So at this point, by the end of the timer, you're looking at only about 10 seconds left to confirm the plant. If you don't go off the piece, you have to start this game now. There's the cover, there's the play. They're going for the EMPs against the gadgetry, which is a very clever way of doing it, because anything that gets thrown in will just get locked out. They get the plant because of it. They're able to slow and defer and just knock that pieces of utility offline. Could not be confirmed, and now 9 players up for this post plant. You have to try to retake above, but you are working with less bodies. It is just shooting down upon them, raining chaos as SSG look like they're in a position to lose 2 rounds in a row. Forrest, fortunately, could not find his way out of the woods on that.
Really well done by M80. They had the very smallest window that had been opened up possible for them to walk in. And the juggle, as we often refer to it as, that involves nitro cells, sometimes impacts, maybe the odd Maestro, Cam, or Echo drone, and then Toxic Babes as well, all need to be factored in. And M80 just really didn't care. They just went for the plant and then dared SSG to fight them on the retake. And the one big issue for SSG was their lack of ability to retake that middle floor. As you can see, they tried, they were gunned down. The stairs are always such a rough spot Boink. The stairs are always such a rough spot for you to retake because you're going to be at an unfavorable angle. They will see you usually before you see them, and you have to win that engagement. They also know you're coming. You have no idea where they're going to be. They know exactly where you're going to be on the stairs. So rough situation for SSG to be in, and a lot of that goes back to about the 1 minute round, or 1 minute mark of the round, where they used the Deimos to effectively roam clear that entire middle floor, and Space Station completely fell back down into the comfort and security of the basement bomb site. But they gave up too much map control, and M80 held those parts of the map perfectly.
Production clarified with me. The sign does not say what I thought it does. It, in fact, says gaming in progress, keep out. Which is the emotional equivalent of live, laugh, love.
I saw a really good sign the other day that said live, laugh, die. And I was like, I think that really speaks to a lot of people's
Halloween.
feelings. Yeah, I think that speaks to a lot of people's feelings.
God. Ooh, Ashen wants to try and be a little bit sneaky on the door at the top of the square, but yeah, there's not going to be a game that they find out. At this point, you don't want to incidentally give them that lead-in body. Don't give them a target to close around, because so far, they've generally been quite sharp over the past couple of rounds. Whatever that blowout was after open, which could have very easily gone the other way, things have gone the other way until Ashen finds Spoit with the C4. Gets that first take, and now at this point they get themselves that breathing room. They haven't had the body advantage in a trade at all, really. It was the 2 versus 4 clutch was the round that they pulled themselves back on. Otherwise, everything's gone away from them here the past couple of rounds. So SSG, what can they cook with on the space of this combination? You know that the pressure is onto the windows itself. It buys you the options to maybe go for these jump outs, maybe go for a little bit more of that roam aggression. They're not giving up the territory above as the cut is coming directly towards a Capcan Benja. They know where you are. And, well... Oh, you still get it? I mean, the fact that he got Kino there is criminal. Citizen gets the trade, but the man was blind.
This is cameraman now toying with that Banshee at the top of the stairs. It's going off, and they know exactly where he is. Some small struggles. They're prepared and ready. J90's had a very rough go of it so far. Emmy, 3 kills to his name. Underperforming everybody on his team. Tied with Kino with the lowest kills in the lobby. They need something big out of J90. Ashen has been reduced to smithereens and is now finished off by Hyper. A well-placed shot to the Achilles heel. 40 seconds to go. Citizen hangs on to the diffuser on very limited HP. They might have to juggle it at some point. But you've got the 3 top frags on the team of M80 still left.
2 of J90's kills came in that clutch round as well. The 2 versus 4, he hasn't really been able to have anything of an impact outside of that singular round. He's sitting on 33% cost currently. There's the rotate round, the 15 seconds of a bit of a mad dash of what are we going to do? I don't know. Let's just send it. Forrest is the cut down here on the quad wall. They've got the watch in towards the back line of the site, and there's J90 to get another here. SSG. They stop things going away from them, but so far, Parker, the only site people have been able to win on their defenses has been open area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's close for SSG, but not close enough for Comfort. They sit on match point on their map. M80 not very happy, obviously, with that result, but they've still got some saving grace. Nightly Haven Labs will be up next, and then Consulate, if memory serves correctly, we don't have the overlay in front of us right now, will be the 3 maps that these teams play on. We might only need 2. Far more at stake in this matchup than what comes next. Whether DZ and SQ would agree, that's really up to them, but SI points being on the line are one thing. How about a major spot on the line? I'd like to remind everybody watching that the winner of this matchup becomes the 3rd team to qualify. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
This one right here. I'm trying to be like a hype character for you.
Oh, okay.
For your burgeoning hip hop career.
No.
No.
What's her name? Vanna White? And I can be Pat Selleck or whatever his name is, the guy from Wheel of Fortune, and then
you understand who our audience is, right?
Yeah,
you
people who are not
modernize
80.
it a bit.
People who are not 80.
Throw in some pop culture names from recent.
I'll be Vanna White. I don't care. I'll look.
How was your Brat Summer?
all look pretty. And Brat, but it wasn't quite a summer, but it's still summer anyway. And these songs from Brat have a really long title.
I heard that you were actually on the remix album. Congratulations.
Let me put it there.
You don't even know where to go with this bit. I know what bit we're going to go to.
Did. I was like, how many versions of
30.
records do we need?
I mean, it's the Taylor Swift generation. Keep up.
I got an idea. Let's buy 6 versions of this record and make a clock. And we're not going to listen to any of them.
We can't get into off-playful rants. We'll accidentally summon Milosh. The break on towards Kanto. They're getting the long view here as cameraman just gets this cleared out. And, I mean, there'll be nothing to contest that. And, well, there's a bit of congestion. The Blitz has got himself stepped up, steps away from the C4. Hyper does stem the flow, and behind you, there's the kill, the pickup from cameraman. Gets J90, again, knocks him out when he's not really able to have an impact outside of that open area site here. They have this body advantage. The Deimos is gone, but in the role that it's played, it's generally fine to lose first, especially in this setup. You want them as an entry. You can get some good calls, and it's probably been to the effect that you want it to. The Warden is out. What my eyes sort of drawn to here is that Oryx. I love when Oryx can be deployed on this map, and if Faults can make something happen, you think about how these hatches, the synergy of them from bottom to top, you can get there in about 5 seconds if you're good with it.
He's the fastest operator in the game. You were able to take up map control really quickly, and yeah, I mean, because of the way that teams will try to hold almost all 3 floors on most bomb sites, Oryx is a tremendously good operator. Cameraman just turned his back. I wondered if he would be on potential warpath with one of these defenders, but no, nobody's giving him anything for the time being. I'm very curious if the yokai drones are still in play as well, because those could be huge determining factors. Forrest showing us that one is still over towards square. No way, it is the speed up too. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, how do you not know this?
I don't play Echo at all in any universe.
A little bit of a slippy moment there. You probably wanted the cover to be there half a second earlier, but what you want isn't always what you get. The Echo's still on board, and Faults just said he can get to the top floor quite quickly, and he knows where the player is, but he can't get it confirmed. That is a scrappy engagement. Is he going to drop the hatch? Please go, just leave. You're in a good stead. No! Overstays is welcome, but look at the timer, Parker. 5 seconds, and the man's on an Echo. He's sprinting to get himself close to this engagement. They will get this confirmed. They just can't find their way through.
Oh, heartbreak, Emmy. Heartbreak.
The margins for SSG to get the win out here, finally executed, but that was death by sort of water torture. 1,000 drips of bullets just pinging you through a wall.
Yeah, is that?
Listen, I don't know things.
That's a quote right there. Timeout called by Spacestation, I imagine. There we go. On the top of your screen. This is as close as it's going to get. Overtime feeling very likely. I said at the onset that we're going to need all 3 maps, or at least that's where my suspicion is, and I still believe that, actually. Which means we go to Nighthaven Labs next, and then Consulate, which all 3 of these maps play very differently. Bank, a very large, free-flowing map that tends to lead itself towards violence, explosive attacking rounds. Nighthaven Labs, typically a bit more structured, slower map by most accounts, and typically quite well balanced, though we have seen it skew towards the defenders as of late. And then Consulate is really just all over the place. It really depends on bomb site rotation and how teams want to approach it. But Consulate is attacker-sided here in North America based on the numbers. So just as we're seeing with Bank, expect whichever team starts on attack in that tiebreaker to hopefully take 4 of those rounds. Callout will lead SSG through what might be the very final round of this map. If not, then we go to overtime. It is not unlimited overtime for playoff spots. It is a simple best of 3 rounds where one team will defend twice and then attack once. The other team will attack twice and defend once. But M80 have made some major progress through this mid-round, and they are a far more cohesive unit on attack than I think we saw them on defense, which was maybe why they called their timeout so early. Maybe they thought there was something wrong with the structure of the team. I'm not entirely sure. but they are playing much better together. And it's not just Citizen, by the way, who's doing well. Kino still has not really showed up, which is a bit of a shame, but everybody else on the team is pulling their weight. Kudos to M80 for that. As for Spacestation, the numbers aren't particularly great for them, but Ashen and Benja have been getting the job done. J90 lagging a little bit behind, and as we saw yesterday, Forrest having some struggles with kills as well.
From sort of where we were to where we are, this game feels a bit strange, and maybe it's just because of the order that they started in the sides, right? SSG felt that they were very dominant on their attacks. Everything was just a million miles away from where M80 were paying attention. M80 won 2 defenses. That's just how it went. Here, it feels a bit more back and forth, but at the same time, it's still only one site that's been secured. They're still struggling to push this one over the edge here, and just the balance of pace, it feels like M80 have definitely stepped it up and started delivering heavier. The attention is once again paid towards Kanto side. They obviously had the free reign of a lot of different sites, and they're going back towards top floor, where it was a bit of a systematic destruction halfway through. Remember how it started? Last time M80 were on the approach here, the blitz was caught very early. They had to entirely pick themselves up, rotate, and go for a different plan of attack that worked very well here. The pings on a player that was caught out by grenades last time. Will this be their first point of ingress?
Didn't hear that word all that often on our broadcast. It's nice.
Thank you.
It's nice to hear. Leave it to an Englishwoman to know how to speak English correctly.
My second language.
What is your first language? This is the second time you've said it.
You know. The pressure comes on towards Kanto. They try and sneaky snake their way out of there, but they drop on towards the elevator shaft itself, the place of their doom last time, and well, they're almost as damaged as they were. They do have a single player of support, but as we get into this final minute, you start to wonder where this close down, where the collapse is actually going to slam itself shut. How much of this is a stop and ready? You can see right through that fire, and it's setting you on fire. The bees will try and get the pressure on towards Ashen. Spoit finds the catch, and here we go. Swinging their way up towards the fight on the right. The C4 is a little bit premature, and as they want to pop up and get the cement on towards Forrest on the right-hand shoulder, they're concerned about the pop-up here from the long desk. Instead, the smoke gets the cover, but it limits the angle. The bees are away to find out where he is, and at this point, it's almost worse than the grenade last time. How is Forrest still alive? Is one of those questions I'm kind of a bit lost on. It does get a kill out of it, but Citizen is determined to not let this one slip away. What happened there?
Well, I think what happened was M80 rushed their way to the top of the stairs. They didn't drone out Forrest. I don't think he knew what was coming. There was a smoke there in front of him, if you saw as well, and he was really the linchpin to that defense. He, being unable to stop 3 separate players all at the top of the stairs, let them in a position where they could fire away, and boy, oh boy, did it not go very well for them whatsoever. And I mean, this is the worry with M80 when you let them back into the match, is that they are a team of fraggers. They are 5 of the best players mechanically that you can acquire for your team. And you could even make a very credible argument that Citizen and Spoit are probably 2 of the best mechanical players in North America and potentially even the world, Spoit in particular. So if you let these teams set up, if you let these teams into the match, and you let them get the kills and play their game, you're going to be punished for it. Doesn't matter if you're Space Station. The thing is that M80 are sometimes their own worst enemy, and they don't look like they are firing on all cylinders. We saw that yesterday. Today, they have shown up. Not only have they shown up, they've shown up very well and very effectively, and SSG is grappling with a red-hot M80. If M80 can win this map away from Space Station, then I genuinely think this might be a 2-0.
It sort of brings into question where the game is going to go right from here. And that's always the beauty of when you play against stats. When you play against the curve, you go, okay, show us why. You're not just writing people off. You're not saying, you've gone to these maps, you idiots. Dumb, get out of here. You go, okay, what's the reasoning? Let's see it in the gameplay. At the start of this, you would have thought, you idiots, you've gone here. But here, being able to continually fight goes, okay, well, they're taking away Bank, a map that they really don't like, a map that SSG do. And now they get that energy going to another little bit more of an even battleground. They have so much momentum behind them here to bite and fight and tear at every opportunity. As they're playing with these slivers of land, Benja wants this a lead through kill. Now they can try and get a rotate out, but Benja's watching, and Citizen can't really go anywhere. But at the same time, Benja doesn't really want to just enter until some security can be paid out and some support. It might be a bit of a death knell, and he doesn't want to be the one that rings it. Pressure here, on towards the green swing, down towards the basement itself. But again, they don't want to hand them a single engagement. They need to try and get that leg up on M80.
Benja will tear through on that first floor as this pace for Space Station is pretty good. 90 seconds, that's the halfway point of this round. And it looks like M80 have completely retreated to the safe confines of the bomb site. We talked about Space Station doing this before, where they fell off and M80 were then able to get a plant down very quickly, hold that middle floor, and make SSG pay for it. The question is, how pronounced will SSG be were they to do the exact same strategy? Will they go for a very quick plant, or will we see something a bit more like the last time they tackled this bomb site? Oso was a very critical operator for Space Station when they pulled off these executes. She's obviously not on the board, so things are going to be a little bit different. We've got one player over towards Garage. That's Ashen, now harassed by the clash, and he's waiting for the flick around. Ashen and Benja with those 2 kills. Benja's been dropped. It's a calamity as everybody dies back and forth. And this is a very attacker-sided half. Citizen with 16 kills to his name will be the last one standing, and he is miles away from the bomb site. Diffuser, though, is not in hand of any of these players. So Citizen can play this one well if he plays it slow. He's got 25 seconds to just simply wait. They suspect that they will hunt him from above. SSG's picked up to the diffuser. It's J90 to get it down in just a matter of moments. Citizen will return to the bomb site. Firing away, he takes down Ashen. That could be the beginning of a comeback. Both Benja and J90 are so low on HP, Emmy. 20 HP for the Buck of Benja, 2 HP for J90. A single bullet from Citizen will take this out. He's spotted on drone as one player from SSG watches on the same floor. The other has gone above. Citizen doesn't seem to know where they are. He charges forward, and good patience shown by J90 as he plays behind server and gets the final kill. SSG move to match point in OT.
There is one site throughout this whole game of seeing every single site that defenders have been able to win. And they don't opt to take it. And it's for both of them, the same statistic. It's open and it's only been, and maybe they were trying to divert it. They know that, you know, maybe worst case, they're going to be on 2 defenses, so they get that as their follow through. But at the same time, you assume now SSG are going to pick that site where there's been 100% success rate for both. There's a lot of pressure, regardless of if you've got a plan for it. You obviously do, but still, I don't know. Here it is. And if this goes SSG's favor, I'm a bit puzzled as towards the risk payout there of going underneath and, you know, throwing things into the air, really trusting that you could be the difference maker. Today, no, you're not. And you'll probably beat yourself up if this one goes, and then maybe we'll go into a bit of a longer series. But SSG, it's for them to prove statistics right here. Obviously, it's not that it's always been a million miles away on this site.
Is that it? Is that your throw, or?
I coughed, and I pressed my cough button. So the kilter was a little bit off. I was skiing off-piste. And you should just know these things about me.
I mean, I've worked with you literally like 3 times.
Yeah, we have sometimes.
We are good friends, but that does not mean we necessarily know the rhythm of working together because we
Somewhat.
Rhythm?
Yeah, it helps your 2 hips move into
Rhythm is everywhere. Critical round, by the way, for both of these teams. Space Station can close out a map that they have had some struggles on. This one they were hoping to get done in regulation. Unlike the group stages, there are no extra points awarded if you make it to OT. You just simply need to win the best of 3. That's all it boils down to. And it might be a quick one set by M80. As the Blitz will isolate. Archives run through now. There's one player in there. Is it the Valkyrie? Oh my goodness!
No!
Benja with the very first kill onto Hyper, and the giveaway. Eventually it happens. It's very messy, but Spoit manages to get the job done. Kino on the board as well this round. Kino has been lagging behind the rest of the team. SSG compelled out of their spots, their hidey holes, and now they look towards the door of Break Room. It's just Fultz and Ashen. Ashen, who's being death tracked at this exact moment by Citizen. Fultz and Ashen still at completely full HP, but there's no utility from either of these players that can be of good use. Ashen picked apart Kino with 3 kills on the glass, and now Fultz needs to win a 1v4. Talk about a terrible position to find yourself in. All this setup upstairs by SSG, strung together so nicely, and M80 just ignores it. They'll use one of the last remaining death tracks. There's still one to go to figure out Fultz's position. Cameraman dies. It's acted upon quickly by Fultz. He's looking for more. He could clutch this round, but the time will be the bigger issue. All the while, Citizen is giving his position away. He'll come face to face with Spoit, who takes no damage whatsoever. Shotgun pulled out, time still running down. The Blitz jostling around him. He's down by Fultz. 2 quick kills, he hops on the diffuser, and this is winnable. But the time is the big issue. Fultz needs to advance. He's harassed yet again by the death mark. They know exactly where he is. They know where the Deimos is. Fultz with the shotgun out, past the point of no return. Where's he gonna go? Nowhere. Kino with the final kill, and we need all 15 rounds on our first map.
All right. That site is not an obelisk. It can be pushed over. Now, will they go there? Is that sort of test from the side of M80. Do they think they can be the ones to get it to work? There was, obviously, you know, when you're in the 2 versus 4, we've seen that position sort of clutched out before by them. The risk of being Deimos tracked and then stepping up towards stock window, it's a gamble. They were trying to get the kill on the Deimos, but the Deimos is just telling all of their friends, hey, just shoot this soft barricade, I'll stay tucked. And then they can pick up that kill. And, you know, you got to take risks to make money here, and we weren't quite able to get it. But no, we will not be on open. We will be here again instead, on a site that has not been won by defenders today yet. SSG, they have a potential prize lined up in front of them, but M80 have a good bit of pace and momentum from that previous round. Can they just tip this one over the edge? They have generally stepped up. You're looking at the sort of kill spread where it was 4 rounds ago, and it was Citizen high and sort of flying above, and the rest were back and forth, but now almost all of them are even, if not positive.
It was really just Kino. That was it. That was the one player that we needed M80 to have show up, and he did just that. Shield play has been so crucial here, and there will be 2 for the very final round by Spacestation. This surely must be a pocket strat, right? A Blitz and a Fuse Shield. Oh my.
Love Fuse Shield. See it all the time in Korea and Japan, and there's just something so fun about its application here. When you've obviously not got the Monty as well, you can still be dangerous with 2 shields. And yeah, okay, maybe it's a little bit of an unfortunate bell ringing of what the meta currently is, but at the same time, you still have to be good enough to get close, confident enough to make it work, and we know Forest can do that with the shield. Benja doubled up. Will this be a smash and grab duo? So the smash starts. There's the lead through. Benja's putting pressure on towards Jacuzzi. Janitors, they're trying to cut themselves all the way in. Castle on the back end at the top of Spiral. J9O hasn't many kills, but they've all got big impact here. There's 2, and there's 2 right back. M80, Kino and Hyper take care of the shield twins. Ashen round the back finds it, and they get some tentative claws in on the site itself. From the top rope. Kino gets the kill, get the lockdown, and we're talking about quiet players that have stepped up over the past 2 rounds. He's got himself level. Ashen finds the plant. They're outside. And now from this position, you know you have to take a risk to get the kill. They're hanging low. And it's going to be a fight on the doorway itself. They've got some support. They're going for the hold. Kino's on the kit. Kino's going to see if he can make it stick. They're just up in time. The distraction was well played there. Cameraman was left looking. And SSG, they took the longest road possible, but at the end, it's their map.
Well, they get it done, and yeah, I mean, they certainly don't let their fans have an easy match. M80 so close, and with that, it could have potentially been a 2-0, depending on how Nighthaven Labs goes. Now, SSG will be in the driver's seat, but Escaping your own map by the skin of your teeth is certainly far from ideal. Space Station will regroup for the next matchup as M80 looks to draw even on Nighthaven Labs. Up next.
Wait, is defusing? Dead.
Nice, let's go.
Last
Last lobby guy.
Let's fucking go! That's the video
I'm even
right
fucked
there.
up in genital. Like, how the fuck?
Let's fucking go!
Fuck, I don't know how it died.
Benja.
Like, he shot you and knifed me or what?
Bro,
Well, SSG, they're going to walk away with the win on Bank there, folks. But I'll be honest with you. I feel like the story of these two teams in that map was just good intentions gone terribly, terribly wrong.
Yeah, for both, we talked about both teams in terms of the coordination and inconsistencies.
Yep.
They definitely were displayed in this game. In the beginning, it looked like SSG was going to run away with it, and I was kind of surprised. I was a little perplexed by M80 because I was like, you're going to go to this same map that you lost to them. And then they walked in 3 separate rounds just getting the bomb down without being contested in any single situation. But then we immediately switched sides, and then it's like the exact opposite from SSG, where then M80 was collapsing on them and getting every single round. I don't know. This game was very confusing, to say the least.
Yeah, I think the issues with both teams persisted here today, and honestly, it was just about who is going to mess up less at the end. I do think SSG has more upside, more to take away from, because you're right. I think we were all questioning when SSG was going on that run with M80 is, just even going to a map like this in the first place, obviously you're going to bring some new stuff, but to get surprised that plants were going down, to get surprised and continuously caught off guard. It didn't look like we saw any new defenses from M80 at all. It seemed like the exact same M80 that had lost the previous banks, and of course they were able to catch up, make the round count, bring it to OT, and make that round count go to the final round. But there was just so many sloppy, even right here where they blind Benja.
And they have a blitz.
And they have a blitz, but Kino decides to run at him, and of course, what are the chances you get shot while blind? Well, the chances there didn't matter because he did get shot while blind. And it was just like, it didn't really show to me that M80 was doing great by bringing it back. I think it was just SSG getting ahead of themselves, letting their mistakes creep in, settle in, and giving the opportunity to M80 to come back. But at the end of the day, there's more to take away positively from SSG, but I wouldn't be too happy about that game for either party.
Yeah, you got to feel comfortable for Space Station because you are 1 game away from getting your spot to Montreal. And, we talked about both these teams and their opening engagements. And to be fair, Space Station had 11 out of those opening engagements, which is great. But the fact that it had to go the full distance is you couldn't convert it. Granted, some of those were traded, but even for Citizen, we were talking about him in the beginning, and we haven't been able to talk about him too much, but he had a standout game, and it's unfortunate that they couldn't get through that hurdle and push themselves into a second map looking nice like Space Station. Everyone across the board for both teams just have to have a better performance going into this map and not have to push it down to the wire of who's going to get that last round of round 15.
Yeah, it's interesting because the things that you guys are saying to me right now are things that I felt like you said to me about these teams over the last 2 days. We're not really seeing improvement, which is surprising to me, especially from a roster like SSG in particular. They're second place in the stage. They should be learning. They should be adapting. But look at the entry kill problem remains persistent.
Yeah, the entry kill problem, you saw it, 11 opening kills. How do you have 11 opening kills and you're not steamrolling the opponent? Their attacks were great, very fast executed. They got the case down, I think 4 out of the 6 rounds. It was really good job from SSG, but once the defense is swapped, no matter whether they were getting the opening kill or not, they weren't converting it into round wins, and that's a mistake that SSG needs to fix regardless. Now, if you're M80, already looking at these maps, M80, very questionable decisions.
Dangerous
you want to
stuff.
bring some stuff different, I get it, but on Bank, it looked like M80 was, again, just falling back to what they know. Big plays, big individual performances. They need to get the kills or else they're going to win. I feel like I'm watching almost like a better version of OXG at the moment. It doesn't seem like they're problem solving. It's just that they're going for kills and trying to climb themselves back in the game. But that was SSG's game to lose. And I feel like, again, it was just SSG's weaknesses that they let that happen. They let that go the distance. They didn't have to. And so we'll see, I mean, which team can just clean up better. Because I agree with Lax, both teams need to be way better.
And now you find yourself in labs, especially for M80, where SSG hasn't played this yet. You don't have any footage on them. Maybe you might have something from a scrim or something like that. But SSG has 2 games where they didn't look too hot on this, losing to Sonics, losing to LG. And it's just not, it's not great for M80. You don't have a cushion going into your map pick because you couldn't get that win through on Bank. I mean, for me, I don't think it even comes down to IGLs at this point of who's going to get through this map. It really comes down to individuals just reading their situation, reading the play that they can make or that they don't have to make, where maybe just sitting still could be the caveat of winning a round or losing a round. I think it just really comes down to the individual prowess of each player just truly understanding the positions that they're in and how they can work with every single scenario.
Yeah, I mean, Labs from M80's side really came down to the fundamentals. A lot of issues on their attacks. That was the biggest thing. Their defenses, you know, they were okay, but it was their attacks that were the issue. And it didn't matter if they had the shields or not. We saw Kino on the Blitz, Kino on the Monty, Kino on the Ying. But their fundamentals of taking Rafters control or taking Aqua Stairs or taking Garage control, each one of those rounds, regardless of what operator we saw Kino on as the X factor, the way that they played behind him was lackluster in the previous games. And that's what caused M80 to end up losing. And obviously we saw Luminosity take advantage of M80 on this map. And so if M80 doesn't change anything and brings that same type of mentality that they did in the first map into this one, just, oh, I mean, worst comes to worst, let's just shoot better than them. Like, let's just rely on the big hero plays. I just don't think it'll go well for them.
I will say in some of those rounds, I did enjoy seeing Spoit on the Blitz shield, and I would like to see him here and utilize him because, I mean, yes, he is a fragger. He has really good aim. He's a smart player, and I think they could utilize him on the Blitz to allow him to just take that map control, have a player like Citizen follow up with him, and just use those two mechanics together, interchangeable, to be able to just take some of these map control, take some of these power positions from away from SSG. But again, both the teams weren't looking hot at all by any means in that last map.
Well, we're going to labs now. A chance for both of these teams to tighten up. A chance for SSG to make it straight to a major if they can pull out a win. Now let me turn you over to two casters who are both no doubt rushing to get their own gaming in progress wall signs. It's Intero and Fluke.
Thank you so very much. And we might actually combine for the longest hair on a broadcast. Now that
you look like the missing link.
We've made a powerless enemy today.
Oh no! Another one! Are you gonna block me on Twitter? We have a 66-34 social prediction. Now, this was almost a decider map the other day for SSG series against C9BC that we did not see 9BC.
How long have you been sitting on that one for?
Well, you know, I calls them as I sees them.
Of course.
As I see 9BCs them.
I have to go.
Thank you.
I have to go.
It's okay. It's ban phase. Do you think operator bans matter? I'm just saying this to irritate the analysts. And do you think this matters?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course it does. Azami. Yeah, there we go. Azami and Monty banned out by Spacestation. M80 will get rid of Dokkaebi and Tubarão. And so long to them, as they are no longer in action. Tubarão has a lot of value on this map for the stall potential, particularly on that IT wall. That is the big place that you will see a Tubarão play. Obviously, not anymore because there's no Tubarão. But Azami is the most banned defender, as we said all the way back on Bank. It should surprise absolutely nobody that she is removed from play, because on this map in particular, she finds an incredible amount of value due to all of the weird ledges and door frames that this map has. It's actually quite a unique map in that regard. The only other map that I can think of that has positions like that would be sort of like probably Cafe Dostoevsky. But other than that, you can see Azami roam on that main floor. You can see her played inside of the bomb sites, and it usually always gets a ton of explosives from the attackers. So get rid of Azami and you don't have to deal with her. Space Station was the one who banned her out. They obviously will know how to deal with this defender setup without an Azami. And as you can see, they're going to bring a lineup of operators that were not common, but were used previously on that Bank map. The only operator that does stand out a bit is the Wamai. He doesn't really have as high of a pick rate these days.
I love the aggressive hold there on the double wall down in the basement. Obviously, when you've got the Maverick on board, you can you'll see teams go with two different ways of that, right? They'll either open up some holes inside of it, so it turns into a bit of like peekaboo. Goodbye, castle. Were you caught castling the window? Or do you think they were just holding onto it, ready to go for a strike? And either way, Ashen lives. But a bit of a risky opener here. If you think about the extension, think about the cost that would have been. They have one in pockets. I'm assuming they were peeking out and then went to do it at the end, but just got caught by the end of a pre-fire. And, well, now they're seeing if they can encircle quick enough to get them caught in the net. But otherwise, still too much structural work to do. They live, but maybe a little bit of a shake awake there for SSG. Ashen, not on a lot of health. Propped up, wants to pop up and put down the player that swings in from the window, but as you can see with the position on towards the vending side, oh my word. I mean, it's ex-Kairos. You'll just get another set in a moment, but hey, if you've got it, use it.
They've lost Kino now, as he had a rough go of it in the previous map. He managed to have a great final, was it 2 or 3 rounds? Not this time. He's dead immediately. Citizen trades it back by eliminating Ashen. These two will likely be on a collision course for quite some time. There will go one of those death marks. Citizen will hunt down the Valkyrie of Fultz as Benja dies and Citizen capitalizes. All of this action happening inside of Kitchen. A bit mystifying that it has occurred so far off of this bomb site. Forrest will now have to put the shield on his back and potentially the team and ascend to the top floor. He and J9O are the last two standing for SSG.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it all sort of exploded there, not a million miles away from the site, but still, if you're thinking about the utility they've got the clash, and then have the back line, you probably wanted a little bit more wiggle room with how you could approach this. There's a grenade and a pressure that's about to come over the top. There's the flash. They do get one out of it. Looks for the second, but, well, they actually catch it as a trade against Citizen. Puts it into a 2 versus 1 for J9O. Now, his kills in the last map were rare but big impact. These could be the biggest of all. Get SSG off to a start here on their defense on M80's map. So they hold and wait and anticipate for the pressure on towards cargo. I'm wondering if M80, as they pick up the kit, they've got 15 seconds. They have to focus on towards the plant, and they have control elsewhere, but now they don't have the kit. It's a 1 versus 1 engagement. They're swinging up for the side of the stairs. They're looking for the chase here. Just get out of there, J9O. Run for the hills. You'll be able to find freedom on the far side. And, well, okay, from the weird pace we had at the start to everybody dying in the middle to a Tom and Jerry ending.
You can hear yakety sax in the background.
It was thrown all over the shop that round.
Goodbye to that first round. SSG winning the very first round on Labs. You know what? Let's skip a little bit ahead. Let's not wait for the formalities. We don't need to get 2 to 3 rounds into this map for us to be able to talk about which side will have a better time depending on where you are attacking or defending. 58% of the rounds played on Nighthaven Labs in North America have been won by the defenders. 58%. Means 42% of the rounds won by the attackers, getting it pretty close to a 40-60 split, which means more often than not, we are seeing 4-2 halves that favor the defenders on Nighthaven. This used to be, all the way back in Manchester and SI before it, one of the most balanced maps in terms of attacker and win rate defender numbers. Not anymore. Nighthaven Labs has settled in as a very defender-sided map across pretty much every single major region. That's good news for Spacestation as they start on that side. Most maps are defender-sided, and most maps are defender-sided to the point where it is a 4-2 scoreline that you expect to see. If that comes to fruition, Spacestation will be in good shape, but anything less than that is a bit of a worrying sign and will definitely benefit M80.
SSG, they're able to hold on to that first round, but you know, the sort of aggressive extension didn't quite net them the results that otherwise want. They're not going to play with the Maverick in an attempt to get this breach open. When you've got the Thatcher on the board and you can apply some pressure from underneath if you get rid of Forest, that might be the route on through. There's some protection, some cover. Either side, they will get this wall open partially, whichever of the two breaches works. There's actually a misplay with the exothermic there, and they don't roll the Thatcher at the right time, so they lose one, lose the pocket, lose the player, and I said it was going to be easy, but they made it so hard.
They lost Spoit, who's yet to find a kill so far in this matchup. There goes the EMP onto that IT wall, and it should be able to get opened if you can manage to get some exothermic charges down. But Hyper decides, you know what? It's not called Thermite anymore. It's called Fragmite. And he will now walk upon the Bandit of Benjamaster and slay him just as he did moments before that with Ashen. Nitro Cell from below as Forrest will hit his mark, and we go back to a 3v3 with half of the round still to play.
I mean, it was a response to messed utilities. Well, don't waste the next bit. Let's just go in and kill him. But then the trade out with the control underneath the blitz takes a bit of damage, but it's coming in all around them, saved by the fire that was a step ahead of them there. And they probably wish that they could have swung on towards that door and got the kill onto the player rather than just shepherd them down the aquarium stairs. Here now they have a bit of this vertical under their ideal. But at this point, you're still looking at how they can try and get this shaped up for the plant. When you've got the blitz, when you've got the way that you want to try and cruise your way through here, there's still these castles, these irritances in the way, and no kit. They've not got it far away. They just left it outside the window so they could pick it up and rotate it to either of the sites as quickly as they wanted to. But from this point, where are they going to try and get the tip of this spear? Where do they feel safe enough with the vertical above? Because now it's all horizontal plays, 20 seconds, and they can only do this. Where do we go? Do we go here? Do we pull this game for, well, not many more seconds than there is left, especially when you have the chance at the swing back round, the denial, the re-rotate up. It's going to be a 3 versus 2, and it's all being pulled on towards the camera. The throw out of gadgetry, the cover over the top, the little bit of solid as Forrest stops the plant, and at this point, they just took too long to get the plan in motion. It gave SSG all the time to sort of cut away the chaff and go, this is the play, this is how we'll cut it down. Space
Station just doing what they need to do, and that round flew by. I actually feel like you spoke most of the time, but that's
sorry.
Okay.
Listen, I know that you've got your new best friend, Jessie J Chick, and you like being the alpha in that relationship.
I really don't like where this is going to go, because I can never trust that you're going to keep it going in a normal, sane direction. I am always waiting for you to just lose your mind.
I was casting with James Devmata 2 days ago,
right.
And this is actually the start of the bit. This is a 2-tiered bit where we talked about how you're not an alpha, you're a sigma. And you watch YouTube compilations in your spare time?
I'm a Sigma? Or Devmart is a Sigma?
I'm assuming that's a tech thing that will get a taste of a technical pause. No,
Here it comes.
Here
it comes. By the way, brace yourself.
I heard that this happened on another game.
All right, well, we got a break ready for you. We'll come back when everything is resolved. See you in a few. We are live with Nighthaven Labs as SSG is up 2-0 on this map. As you can see on your screen, the numbers have reset because all of the players unfortunately disconnected. However, I guarantee you they have kills. Probably.
I'm a non-believer. Oh, no, wait. No, I was there. I saw them get kills. In fact, I can recite generally how players have performed so far. Benja, Spoit, and Kino haven't been able to get any kills themselves at all. They're still on that goose egg. In fact, Kino is on a 0% cost. He has not had an impact on this game yet at all. In the meantime, Forrest, 5-1, is leading SSG, and on the other side, Citizen, 3-2, and Hyper, 2-1. So M80 is a little bit more spread out, but SSG just clutched out 2 rounds. And that's the weather report, Parker. Now to you for sports.
Thank you. Everybody loses.
Whap whap.
Back to you. with the weather again.
Well, the weather is hot and spicy inside the jungle right now. They're getting the breach here on towards the wall, or they're trying to. They failed this. And I was going to talk about how disappointed I was before, because it's a real obvious, simple setup. If you've got 2 hard breach charges and you have a Thatcher and they have a bandit, you apply them in time with the Thatcher and things go well. If you apply them before you roll the Thatcher, do you know what happens to the gadgets? They get electrocuted.
Oh.
They just get caught, and that's what happened last time round. This time they do it successfully. So on the other side of this, they've been able to find some success. Maybe the drone bug was the reason that didn't come together. I don't know, but it did this time round.
Do not think too much into the drone bug, by the way.
Okay. And as there's almost another fight for Kino to get on the wrong side of. As I said, they have not been able to have an impact this game yet. They were very late with their impact in the last one as well. In fact, most of what they did was in the dying rounds when it, I would say, mattered the most, but they lost, so technically didn't really matter at all.
Castle has been a standout operator for Space Station on both maps that we have seen so far today, and it is a regular part of their repertoire. Forest will be the one tackling the obstacles that are those castle barricades. You know what I realized? Oh my, Janino just gets absolutely poached by Hyper.
Yes, what did you realize?
There's a proper name for the castle barricade, right? I actually have no idea what it is. We just call it castle barricades.
Yeah, probably. I mean, who learns this stuff? Nerds?
Castle, Rainbow Six. All right.
Ooh.
Name. Ooh.
Benja gets Hyper's name, jots it down in this little journal of people I've killed today.
Armor panel.
That's not a creative name, but okay, whatever. There's Forest and Fault getting one apiece. It's popping off inside the site, not very successfully, might I add. SSG, this is the strongest they've looked so far, and the first question mark I've seen is dropped, leaving Citizen. Now, Citizen was the standout performer of the first map, and is blown out of the map by that C4 Benchmaster operating in the heat death of the universe.
We said from the surface of the sun.
Yep.
It's like the inverse of, what's his name? The elusive man from Mass Effect 2. You know, he sits in that room, but
man. Yeah, and it's really, so you don't really get to see. In here, it's just so bright that you're not sure
it's the opposite.
Who you're making the deal with. Maybe it's just so they can try and, it looks like it's the same side as Kino as well. Maybe they're just trying to tan them. Like, you know.
It is the elusive man, by the way, played by Martin Sheen.
If they did get to Montreal,
yeah,
you know,
the elusive man.
If the elusive man got there as well, I don't think they would get any sun either. So they're just trying to fill them up as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, get them in. Having Flintstones gummies. You've got to get your vitamins.
If I mean in Montreal, don't say the word gummy. It'll probably mean something different.
Oh,
I guess that stands to most of Canada, actually.
Messed up. Canada. Just slightly wonky America.
That's. I went to see Auntie Donna with my. You went to the same show, by the way, just the one that happened in the UK. I took my dear old dad, as a good son does, and the very end of the sketch basically ended with, "I've never seen a country so proud to be marginally better than America."
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Britain is marginally worse nowadays. So.
Britain is the America of Europe. So I mean, just like how Australia is the America of Oceania.
Australia is a mistake. The pressure comes on towards rafters. They're seeing if they can maybe lock out a loose player, but the longer this goes away from M80, and yeah, they're on their attack, it's a map that can have a bit of back and forth, as they sort of rightfully pointed out on the desk. We don't have a lot of one of these teams on this map, so what can M80 really cook with at this point? Sure, they might enjoy it, they might have some plays and ploys, but when you are trying to build against somebody's defense, which is the eternal question and answer around this game, it's hard to get cleaner ideas. You have to rely on fundamentals, which have been a little bit slippy today from the side of M80. There is the first major slip as cameraman is caught out. Ashton's holding on and just drifts outside and runs for the bleachers, going for the rotators. Everybody else dies. Kino does get faults, but I mean, you say negative things. You have a better voice for it. I'm too lovable.
Let's turn to our Twitter mentions and see if that's true.
It's like, listen, the accounts that get blocked either really don't like me or really like me too much, and neither neither of them are fit for broadcast.
Oh my. It's about to be 4-0 for SSG. Hyper has already decided to quit. I don't know where he's going to go. Kino wanting some of that smoke, and he gets it from Benjamaster. Ashen says in the chat, yeah, leave the game. Citizen dies, and, well, with Hyper being out, I fear there might be another tech pause. What did I say? I said prepare for it, Emmy. I said get ready. Here it comes.
I'd heard rumors about this.
Well, now you get to live it and experience it. It's 4-0 for Spacestation, by the way.
I did 3 days of Japan over this before I came into NAL. I was on a day of Japan earlier. There wasn't a single tech pause. They just must have better versions of the game out there. Sometimes these things happen.
I still can't get over the fact that you just said what you said about Twitter on the broadcast. That might be one of the greatest things I have ever heard on a Rainbow Six broadcast. They either really hate me or like me a little bit too much. So I pity the people who need that spelled out for them, but I'm sure they'll be able to figure it out.
Oh, they'll work it out.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna say that.
Don't. No.
At what point do we?
Remember what I said earlier about how I'm all like, you teeter on the edge, and I'm always wondering which side you're gonna fall off of, and I always have to be ready to like try and catch it, or catch you, I suppose.
I like how I have that element of danger, because usually you are the wild one in your duos. You're the one that says things, even when you're alongside people like Lynx, who...
Lynx is deranged, by the way.
Deranged. Oh, entirely deranged. But on broadcast, they're quippy. They like their, you know, they're going up it's starting to rain. You know, they like their little things. But also, you'll say something, they go, yeah, okay. They'll hit you with that. Jesse
is also a psychopath.
They're deceptively normal on broadcast.
So here's what I'll say. When I used to work with Michael, I would be the lunatic. And every now and then, Michael would obviously get a little goofy, especially if he just decided not to sleep for 3 straight days. Which you know,
it happens.
It happens, you know.
It happens.
But Michael always played the straight man. I'm not talking about sexuality here. I'm talking about the type of comedic style where when you play the straight man, the job is that you are the audience's surrogate who is supposed to be bewildered by something outrageous that somebody says. So anyway, we fell into that. And then of course there were lots of people who don't really know how social interactions might work and would say like, oh, you can tell Kix is so annoyed with Intero. And it's like, I hope you find a friend one day. But anyway, then when I was with Nick is Danish. And I don't know if you know this, Danish people are not allowed to laugh.
No.
So it is against the law in Denmark. So Nick always was obviously very serious. And it was just, he's also European. So he doesn't really get like North American humor because it's very low brow. You're from the land of highbrow humor. So that immediately elevates my game. I have to rise to the occasion to try to match your wit, which is a foolish thing because I could never possibly do it. And now that I'm working with Jesse, he is just also insane. So things happen.
You have that balance. I mean, you know, I work with Hap and they're Dutch and struggle with the concept of both comedy and the English language.
The Dutch and the Danish are just, it's also illegal to laugh in the Netherlands.
And they also have never watched a single movie, film, or don't understand any pop culture references. So those don't work. But ultimately, you know, obviously used to play the straight man, wasn't very good at it. We start here. J9O going for the burst through on the first kill. They're prepped up against the shield. The grenade will force the rotation. They don't get the catch onto the back of the player that drops out.
Did Hyper spawn into this round?
What?
Because remember, Hyper disconnected in the last round. Oh my. This has gone from bad to worse. I was making a joke about the fact that Hyper died early when he was the one who had left in the previous round.
Right.
Right,
Spoy with the very first kill as Forrest tries to hold against them. Down goes Cameraman. The numbers will equalize. 1 minute off of the clock, and the shield is still very much in play. Ashen being hunted down. Forrest takes care of Spoit, and now the shield will run in. Oh my, and almost an opportunity there. A Citizen picks up a double, and it's all up to J90, the very first round for M80. It'll happen in just a second as the Wamai gets targeted and he runs into his death trying to take advantage of Citizen. The timeout seemingly works. The tech pause seemingly works as well. And M80 wins their first round.
Hey, they fix the problems, you know. Inside and outside the computer, bring it into the game. They get their first round after 4 in a run in a row from SSG. Finally, there's some fight back here from M80. And it was played with a lot of sharp aggression, and maybe that's that sort of conversation of that I had once upon a time about what do they know about the holds that are going to be deployed here by SSG. They don't have the VODs that they can truly roll back to. They'll have some ideas of the fundamentals of the game, but SSG as a team, as a group, like to shake up those ideas, like to explore the map, play the space, sometimes to their detriment. You think about that very first round, really it should be 3-2. M80 had a good lockdown. They ended up with a 1 versus 2 Faults clutch back then, where Faults just ran to safety. But here, how they approached it, they went, let's just throw ourselves into Aquarium, let's full send it, we have the track, we have the blitz, we have the Deimos, we have all of this going for us. Behind the back of all of this, surely we'll find something they do. And the blitz is back in the pockets of Kino, and it hasn't had the same success for the team throughout this game, but maybe they'll be able to get it to land a little bit better. There was that question that was asked in Bank that says, are you playing Nook? Yes, is the answer this time round, and it's 50-50 on success so far.
I was going to say that our observer Easy took umbrage with me saying that the Dutch and the Danish are not capable of being funny because he is Dutch, and he's actually quite funny. So I did apologize. I would like to apologize to you, Easy. You were granted an exception from birth. That's it.
Yeah, well, they're allowed. There has to be at least one, right? You know?
Somebody somewhere is allowed to make a joke from that country. SSG in a very powerful position here, though. But remember what we said way back at the start of this matchup. The defenders should be going 4-2. Ashen gets picked off probably a little bit too early for Space Station's liking. Hyper will go down right after. Spoit also falters. M80 were looking to take advantage of that very first pick. They quickly moved and mobilized, and SSG shut the door.
It was a bit of a missed moment there. You could see the Nook lying down. Hyper wanted to see if they could catch the player that rotated out of the kitchen, but they'd already left. That gave them the swing as soon as the barricade started to be shot to get the pressure on from the end of the corridor, which maybe they didn't expect. Obviously, we didn't see the engagement, but we saw the build up into it, and you can kind of put the pieces together and assume how the puzzle's going to look. Now, with the blitz still on side, SSG has this extra problem that it might have to deal with if Kino can get themselves into a 1 versus 1 engagement, if they can try and press and stress that game that SSG like to do that I talked about, where they'll explore the map, they'll try and keep a lot of wiggle room, a lot of places that they've otherwise got to recheck and re-clear here, and that's what the blitz is sent on a mission to do. Get rid of J90. You're up against the Legion, 2 in pocket, there's the swing round, and they still win it out! The flash didn't connect with J90, I guess, and that's going to be a disappointing moment. They have the player inside the kitchen. It's an easy pick back up for Cameraman. Caught out. There's Citizen to offer some level of support, but Forrest over the top leaves just Citizen alone in the kitchen. What are they serving on the menu today, Parker? My friend, it's only pain.
Blood pudding? Blood pudding!
He said that with... No one has ever said blood pudding with that much excitement.
Blood pudding! 5-1 for Space Station. We speculated that if M80 had prevailed in map number 1, that it would be a quick 2-0. We are now looking at it in the other direction. It is very, very likely that M80 will have to go through the LCQs to get a spot at the Montreal Major now.
That's a run. It's a gauntlet that nobody wants to have to do. You don't want to have to step back into it, especially again, yesterday they were technically 2 rounds away from being able to get themselves already confirmed, all that SI points, and yeah, they would have another game to play for a cool $30,000. But at the same point, the focus, the stress, you get to start, okay, who we got on the international stage? Who are we likely to play? We're in second phase. We don't even have to play the first phase. We get the build up. We probably get SI as well next year. And at the point, all that they can sort of look at right now is just that all slipping away. It's a distant memory for M80. And SSG, they had a decent lead on bank that slowly got picked away at by M80. It might suffer the same thing, but this time they have the one extra round. And they'll get a few on their defense, but as soon as SSG get themselves onto a map point, the mental's gonna shift.
Shift where?
To Montreal. Don't know why I said like
Oui, oui.
French Canada.
Ooh, okay. That is a dreadful start for Citizen. He gets caught by Benjamaster 30 seconds in, and the same formidable offense that M80 was hoping to show off seems to be a bit more successful for SSG. Look at that drone, and they have him on cam right now. Kino will shut down that logic bomb and just miss out on the Dokkaebi. Ashen is too good. Uh-oh. Apparently they banned Dokkaebi.
On the rehost. Oh dear.
That's
the
bad.
Bans aren't there. Hey.
Whoa!
Uh-oh. Well,
I have no idea what that means for this round, but we ball.
Sure, it has to be a replayed round, obviously. This isn't the fault of the players. And, you know, you're probably just looking at what you have a selection, and you're in the heat of the moment. I don't blame them for picking the operator so much. They probably just went, oh, yeah. Yeah, I would do the same. They won't, because obviously as soon as you do impact as that operator, they'll be like, hey, we banned that. It's like, oops, sorry.
I mean, I as far as I'm aware, if you play an operator who's banned, there are no operator bans, as you can see on your screen right now. None of them were inputted, which means I think it was Azami, Shubarao, Dokkaebi, and Montaigne were the 4 bans, if memory serves correctly.
Ashen wasn't trying to pull a sneaky one. I assume. I could be wrong.
Well, we don't know. I think this is where we leave it to the admins, right, to figure that out, because
we're not smart.
I will say we're gonna have a rehost, by the way.
That was always gonna happen.
Thank you. So what I will say though is that if I'm playing on a team, I'm not memorizing what my opponents ban. I see that operators are open. I'm a gorilla. I'm gonna pick them. That's it. Anyway, all right, we're gonna get everything set up and then we'll get back into the action and await what happened in that round. We'll go to a break. We'll be right back. We are back in action, and the determination from the admins is to play the round out again. I don't know if my eyes deceive me, but it does not look like there are operator bans at the top of the screen.
I think that side is from us, but on the selection screen, surely they have confirmed. Like, I'm trusting that they are there. I think our overlay is usually what shows it on this stage. I could be wrong about that, because we have a new overlay. Look how tiny it is and far away.
I'm not sure. Either way, we will play the action. The admins have determined that it was just an accident, I'm guessing, and we'll just replay the round instead of it going towards M80. It's a long reprieve, though, for both of these teams, so there'll be a bit of time that they were able to sit on the sidelines before getting back into the action. Just as we said yesterday, we greatly appreciate everybody's patience.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you. Will we get patience paid off here? SSG, I'm going to say the momentum has definitely obviously been cut. This, if you were to say it works in the favor, M80 get a breathing room, but obviously that round was SSG in the lead as well, regardless of the banned and restricted operator. The mirror trick, I think it's fair to call, as they get it covered off. They get some destruction onto the wall, and Benjamaster gets a double. Citizen and Cameraman both just executed. Spoit charges up, almost a little bit of orange on orange violence. as they push their way in, try and get some control here, just force them off. They do have a reinforcement in pocket, but as soon as they go for it, the audio will be so loud with the man disadvantage, you cannot risk just giving them a free swing and a free body and a bite here. Stepped up on towards Electrical. They want to try and go toe-to-toe with a shotgun. It's probably not going to entirely work out in their favor. There it is. J90 does get the back of them because Faults drives in. There's Forrest getting one onto Spoit. It leaves just Hyper, but not for long. I said it might have slowed their pace. They proved me wrong. SSG 1 round away from Montreal.
Montreal?
Montreal. All right, Milos.
I believe it is French for a city in Quebec. A city in Quebec.
The host.
Not Quebec.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
Did you know that Quebec is 7'3"?
Wait, really?
No, but you believed it entirely.
I did believe it entirely because I've only ever seen them sat, I think, on this broadcast. I haven't had the pleasure of working with them in person like Fox and Lax get to do.
He's a giant.
Do they just look 7'3" compared to those two? Jacob is like
Jacob's tall, man.
9'4". Like
I think it was his angles when I first saw his content, when it was called like Six Sport or whatever those videos were that he first made. I always forget the name of the branding.
it's called Rainbow Six Siege.
It's not.
What? It's not?
That's not what I'm talking about.
Oh, right.
Anyway, I met Jacob for the first time, and I was like, man, you are a giant. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Corbeck yet. But I'm hopeful that we see him at either the Montreal Major or SI, wherever it will be.
Well, what it might be here is a quick journey towards eyes onto Montreal. Obviously, it doesn't end the story, the hopes here for M80 of finding their way there. But today, I mean, they have to now flawlessly defend the half of this map to have a chance at a third. They have to try and get to overtime. That is the lowest of the low in terms of it. It's possible. Everything always is. Every reset, every round is pretty much a fresh start, especially when you're losing them and you still have all the site options. But I mean, there goes Forest, right? Straight through, down the back end of the site, in towards Exposition, in towards it. They're just going to go for the plant. They're concerned about the vertical. They can try and play the shield against it, but they don't want to hand them the free fight. Instead, it swings round on towards the opposite as they bounce back and forth. It's Hyper to get one. The pistol a little bit late. Hyper is just spinning around, able to get two massively important kills there just to stop them entirely flooding in, with Kino getting one more. Excess Suit Rush was the attempt, but the single player was able to stop it out. M80 get there first. I think if Hyper wasn't as attentive, it would be over, though.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big round from Hyper. And it's not technically the first round in total. It's the second round in the entire game. Quite a hill for M80 to climb. It's definitely doable. We almost saw this comeback yesterday, but it fell short when DZ were one round away from one of the most improbable comebacks that we ourselves have seen. They ended up winning the whole matchup, but it took some time for them to get there and secure their spot at Montreal. Now M80 are letting it slip through their fingers. It's been a very interesting story for M80. They 2-0'd C9BC 7-5-7-5, which is the closest scoreline that you can get to before overtime is required. So they're very close matches. But M80 still got a 2-0 over the defending major champions. They ultimately fall to Dark Zero. 2 of those 3 games yesterday went 7-5 as well. First match on Bank didn't go 7-5, but it went 8-7. This one looking like it'll be one of the more dominant results. DZ defeated M80 7-3 yesterday on border. If SSG can do this, this will be the worst loss for M80 statistically for them in the playoffs, and they will go into the last chance qualifiers alongside Wildcard, Cloud9, Beast Coast, Luminosity, all the other teams that are still going to fight for their spot, as there is one opportunity after this match for an NA team to make it to Montreal. Already, we've got Sonics and DZ locked in, and they'll be the matchup that we see next at the conclusion of M80 SSG.
Skopos on the board for the first time today between these two teams. If you're unaware of the new operator, it's two robots that will separate themselves and you can change between them. When they're inactive, they're a bulletproof camera. They can be killed without killing the operator. If you are dropped whilst you're in control, you are dead. So you can't entirely play it as a suicide position, but you can if you're a little bit smart about it and are willing to drop off in time. That's the pressure on towards Citizen, who then just gets themselves a full extension and a chance. But otherwise, that extension, how will it be offered to them? When you're looking at the control over this site, you need to try and get IT, you need to try and push across from the side of jungle and connector, see if you can cut off the verticality hold. You know, it's a bit sticky if you're going for the cargo plant. You've kind of got to get the control over the top of cargo stairs, pushing onto the back, and you still need that verticality around the side of Aqua, but it seems like they want to be a little bit flat about it. There is Benja on that cargo door. And there's that verticality I talk about, perfectly displayed how important it is to pay attention to that first.
SSG are still primed and ready to clear this one out. It just might take an extra round. We'll see how this happens. Forest destroys Kino. Forest looks just as surprised as we are at what happened.
I mean,
Forest, by the way, is in the bomb site. He has to be wary of those kill holes that are above, but he will go for the plant. Who is covering him? He repositions now before attempting a second time. Down goes cameraman. Forest vaults in. He picks up a second. Fultz, feeling a bit more confident, will attempt yet again. Almost now. Almost. Hold steady, and Space Station will get the diffuser down. It'll be all up to two players on M80. Spoit and Citizen all the way over from Europe to do battle in North America. Spoit will start with one. It's Forest to die. Citizen looking to swap from Colossus to Talos, but isn't able to do it. Now it's Spoit to breach through inside of Garage. Nitro Cell goes out, ever closer to the bomb site. Ashen shuts him down, and it's Citizen to switch to the other drone, and down below, he's got no hope in hell. I don't even think he can get to the bomb site. He won't do it alive. Space Station will be in Montreal. They join the Sonics and Dark Zero as all three teams in North America are locked in.
For all the stress and all the fight and all the back and forth, it's weird for it to end in almost a bit of a whimper here. It felt like M80 had just reached a limit that SSG were more than happy to do. This obviously secures SSG second phase as well. It gets them a base of at least 55 SI points guaranteed. It doesn't actually put them on the level of M80, who still have a little bit more on the jump start, but still, what a gift, what a moment, close enough to almost secure. The cutoff was 300 points last time, BDS at 300, 305. And now them falling so close, well, I suppose that's something for the desk to talk about after our break.
That's three. Last guy's that's
Don't
three.
pick
He
lane, don't pick
TP'd.
lane.
He TP'd.
The fuck is he going?
I don't know. He TP'd. I don't know.
No way you're in the
Barrel?
basement.
Barrel?
Good shit, guys.
Down, Rick. Wait, we don't need to.
Good job.
We're going to Montreal.
Good fucking shit.
Well, Space Station Gaming there, claiming the last spot for the Montreal Major here in NAL before LCQs. I'm Korbeck, alongside me, Laxing, Foxe. I mean, I'm happy to see SSG win. First Siege skin I ever bought as a team, so I'm happy to see him go.
That was a far better performance out
Indeed.
of SSG than what we saw from the first map. That's kind of what I was expecting to happen from that first map, but we didn't get to see. But again, I am glad to see that they could shake off that first game and just focus on going into the second and close it out and make a statement.
Yeah, SSG looked a lot more comfortable. Obviously, they were getting a bunch of the kills. I mean, there wasn't really a moment where M80 was really stopping them. But, I mean, I think to boil it down, I mean, great play from SSG, but, I mean, M80, same mistakes, that we saw on their previous labs. And again, it still makes me wonder what the thought process was when it comes down to the map picks. you know, I feel like these maps just didn't really line up for how M80 wanted to play, how they wanted to go about things. And I mean, SSG, obviously, first map, a little shaky, but it looked like they woke up, warmed up. And in this map, I mean, it really was them the whole time. I mean, everybody was typing. It was a really exciting match to watch.
I mean, it's disappointing for M80's side that we've been giving them praise. They've shown resilience, and then they kind of just fell flat towards the end of this game. Well, going into this second map, it didn't, you know, they couldn't even get that storage wall with the EMPs. I mean, we've talked about their coordination just it's just not there. And the fact that this was your last chance before having to avoid an LCQ when you're still having these issues, I'm worried for them even going into LCQs against some of the teams that are still down there that they're going to be versing. So again, hats off to SSG. They 100% deserve it. They put their foot forward going into this last map and closed it out, and I can't wait to see what they look like going into Montreal.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm not a pro player, wasn't a pro player. I feel always a little bit rough judging people, but M80, they just looked a little bit lost, and I think the stats really show that. I mean, 7-2 scoreline shows it, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't really much change. I mean, obviously, we talk about it. You're not going to bring maps that you struggled with during the stage to playoffs unless you have stuff to show for it, a lot to change on it. And there really wasn't much, especially on Bank. It came down to a lot of gunfights. And I think that was just SSG's game to lose. The SSG made it a lot closer on map 1. Map 2, on the other hand, SSG was firing on all cylinders. And I mean, they were playing defense first, and that was the hardest part. That was the part that we highlighted, that M80 was struggling, that it didn't matter on the operators that they had. The way that they fundamentally played the map just isn't the most opportunist. It doesn't really capitalize on anything, and they were waiting for SSG to give them opening picks or some type of leg in the game, and SSG just played slow. They played their positions. They waited for M80 to get into the map. Once M80 was in, that's when SSG like let loose on their playing ground, and it didn't really look like M80 had a chance.
Well, we have Ashen here with us for an interview. Let's get him in, pick his brain just a little bit. And of course, before we get to that, big congratulations, Ashen, on clutching up your major spot right there. You guys obviously deserve to go. I'm going to look forward to seeing you. But I got to ask, how did you rally from yesterday? Because I know you guys were looking a little bummed out on the cams there.
Yeah, yesterday it was just, it wasn't us, honestly. You know, we were playing too tense. We really just, you know, we weren't able to play our freestyle that we love to play, and you know, that's what happens whenever, you know, stuff like that happens to us. But you know, today we heavily identified our issues going into the game today, and you know, the vibes were a lot better. We were a lot more just, you know, we were ready to make plays and stuff like that. Just the comms were flowing, and you know, at the end of the day, the result showed. So you know, a lot better SSG today.
Well, Ashton, I want to say congratulations on making Montreal and clinching your spot there. But I want to talk about what was the transition from the first map, because you guys were looking great. You guys went up 4-2, but then it started, I mean, every round was kind of scrappy then, and then you obviously close it out. Then you get into the second map, and you guys just look absolutely dominant. What was the transition from the first map then to the second map?
Yeah, once we got on that defensive side on Bank, they were playing it really well with like the amount of just like cheese and chaos that they were bringing, you know, with the blitz and stuff. You know, it's hard to play like an easy game of Siege whenever they're bringing Glads, just a lot of cheese takes and stuff like that. And I think we responded pretty well, but at the end of the day, like, you know, they have pretty good mechanical players, and you know, if they're catching picks and stuff like that, you know, the rounds just start to snowball. And I think we really showed just, you know, how fearless we really are on that last round with the double shield. And, you know, winning that round boosted our morale so much. It was actually insane. Like, everyone was actually fired up for the second map that, you know, it let us get that 5-1-half and ultimately, you know, 7-2. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the issues that caused you guys to obviously lose yesterday and that you guys were focusing on. And one of the biggest things that we saw on the couch was obviously getting those opening kills and then making it back to your team and playing those man advantages. How did you guys, or if you felt like that was a problem, how did you guys nip that in the bud going in from yesterday to today?
I don't think it was really like an issue we identified for yesterday, but I think it's an issue we've had in the past, and I think it just comes down to the individual person just knowing what's going on and just being mindful of what's around them, you know, when, you know, players are reacting and how we should react, honestly, whenever, you know, we get the OPK and then, you know, teams just love running at you. So it's just really about how we react, and we had to just really just settle down, and M80 is a team we know pretty well in terms of their game style, and so, you know, it was easy. We just had to really realize what's going on in the moment.
Well, awesome, man. Ash and I'm just going to ask you guys, how are you feeling about the major? What are you guys going to be working on between now and Montreal?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot to work on. We need to be a lot better than we are. I think it's good to sit down and just realize, you know, last two majors we made, we had to go through LCQ, and it's Really big deep breaths. Not.
I bet.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much, Ash, and enjoy your celebration. You got a lot of time to work, right? So give it a bit of a break, and we'll look forward to seeing you there in Montreal.
Thank you.
Gotta love Ash, and he's always a good guy for an interview and always providing good insights to his team. And he's right. It probably feels really good not to have to go through an LCQ to get to a major for that.
I don't envy one that has to play any sort of qualifier, let alone for only one spot for that. So, I mean, kudos to them. They can get it done. They don't have to worry about that. But I just hope going into Montreal, they can fix any of these little mistakes that we have been seeing pop up throughout this entire stage, throughout the playoffs. But if they can find that footing and just find and get over that hurdle, they will look like a very, very strong Space Station going into Montreal.
So now kind of the bracket pretty much sorted out here. We've sent 3 teams to the majors. How are you guys feeling about the overall vibe of the playoffs so far? Everybody going where they deserved?
Yeah. I think it definitely went the way we expected. Again, everybody expected Dark Zero to come out on top. I mean, obviously they made it through, but it was their harder matchup, SSG, SQ. I had a feeling that both of the teams would have a chance at making it through, and then obviously we saw the best of the third place come out today.
Indeed.
And SSG finds themselves in a position where, you know, sometimes they'll have really high highs and sometimes they'll have very low lows, and I feel like just finding that middle spot to where they can just consistently be very good, I know that's what they're trying to go for. So I think to sum up the stage for them, finding themselves in third, I think is a really good level ground.
Yeah.
There's still a lot that Ashton said that they have to work on, and we saw there's still a lot that they have to work on, and so hopefully they can get that done leading into Montreal.
Sure. Well, it may be that our 3 major spots are secure, but there's still one more very important game to play here in the NAL playoffs, and that's to figure out who will be the #1 team, the champions of NAL, the grudge match you've been waiting for, Dark Zero versus Sonics, right after this.
I guess I'll do this for the setup tour. It's a new mouse I got and I love it. Ignore the design. It's like it's a WL mouse. It's from China or something. It was actually sold out, so I couldn't get a normal color. That's why all these weird like dog designs are on it. I'm not like a big fan of that stuff. I won't say it.
I play with this WL Beast X mouse. It's a new one for me. I like it very much. And of course I'm using the Woodsing. Just need this to play. Mousepad I don't like. Whatever.
It's just bad, man. But ever since I got her, I won a major. Before I didn't have her, I didn't. So she has to be good luck.
People would say I was narcissistic, but this is me. And then this is my beautiful team, and I have that sitting right next to me, and I look at it every time we lose a round, so I know that it's just temporary.
If I make the major, I'm taking this one right here. This is like my deluxe. I'm right here.
I'll do Mayor McCheese, obviously. I always have him with me.
I'm not like superstitious really, so I don't want to say a good luck charm. Bears are my spirit animal, I would say. And I also think this is it's funny. It's a little bear in a can. I actually get pulled over at security all the time because like they'll see my backpack and they'll be like, oh, you got like canned food in your bag, and then I literally start laughing and I pull this out. And especially in Canada, they always find it funny. So
this one could be a real slobber knocker of a game.
They've got to clear out that position. That one through the screen as Spirit pops the head.
Managing to close it out. Spirits must know that they're there. Manages to find the kill. 2v1 Frida is low health though.
Oh, take from Spirits in the 1v1, holding onto the back of Spirits. They've traded places, but Frida has that one extra little bit to tie him.